Chapter 1275. Qinfan's expression changed drastically. He put away the fire cloud cannon on his shoulder and stood on the golden tornado wheel with the golden phoenix broadsword in his hand. Qinfan had heard about Tadoquan's power from the divine dragon. He also realized that Tadoquan did not use his full strength when they fought 3 days ago. It seemed like Tadoquan was completely infuriated and was about to make his move. "You ain't from China. I'll show you the true power of a Japanese ninja." Intense explosions erupted from Tadoquan's body and did not stop for a long time. The aura on his body skyrocketed several times, and his figure looked incomparably tall, as dignified as the statues in the Japanese shrine. With an earth-shattering roar, Tai Jun waved his dagger in the air. Suddenly, hundreds and thousands of white sword chi were condensed. These sword chi were not sharp. Instead, they were like strands of spider silk that flew towards Qinfan. "What the hell?" Qinfan's expression turned serious. He waved his hand, and the golden phoenix broadsword descended, bringing with it 100-meter-long golden sword chi. Right now, Qinfan's saber was so powerful that it seemed like it could split the heavens and split the earth. However, when the saber chi landed on the cobwebs, it completely lost its effect. It was like nostalgia that couldn't be severed, and it was chaotic. "Huh? Do you think you could defeat me with your brute strength?" "Collect." Takano Jun threw his head back and laughed maniacally. His skinny palms suddenly clasped together, and the hundreds and thousands of spiderweb-like sword chi in the air instantly converged and trapped Qinfan like silk. The web was dense and contained a powerful force. Qinfan tried his best, but he could not break free from the sword chi. "What kind of sword technique is this?" Qinfan frowned. He finally knew how powerful Tadoquan was. He was indeed the #1 swordsman in Japan. Tadoquan's face lit up when he saw that Qinfan was trapped. He continued to exert strength in his hands, and the sword chi seemed to be under his control. It was as if he was going to cut Qinfan into pieces. "This is the swordsmanship I learned on Mount Fuji in the Great Empire. The sword chi can be formed into threads, and they can stretch endlessly. Every winter, I sit naked on the snow mountain of Mount Fuji and use the sword chi to condense thousands of sword nets that look like ice silk. With a wave of the sword, all the fish and shrimps in the glacier river will be caught by me. With my continuous training, these sword nets can bear the weight of millions of kilograms. How can you resist them?" Tai Jun's sword Dao was indeed unique. Qinfan wondered if Shimin Shui Shui's sword Dao could contend against it. However, Shimin Shui Shui's cultivation level was too low. No matter how powerful his swordsmanship was, he was no match for Lord Taiye's strike. The net of swords on his body became tighter and tighter, almost tearing Qinfang's clothes. If he hadn't been using the true chi in his body to resist, his body would have been cut into pieces by the thousands of swords. "You want to trap me with a mere sword net? What a joke." The sound of an explosion suddenly spread out from Qinfang's body. In an instant, he was turned into a man of fire, and his body was ablaze with raging flames. The power of the fire of destruction seemed to be able to devour everything. The surrounding temperature instantly soared, and the sword net that wrapped around his body was like an ice cream that had come into contact with fire, instantly turning into water vapor and dissipating. Rumble. As soon as he broke free from the shackles, Qinfang swung his saber without hesitation. Tai Jun's expression changed drastically. He never thought that Qinfang could use such a strange skill. Even if he was a fire attribute demon cultivator, he couldn't possibly be covered in flames, right? Moreover, Tai Jun's chi was so powerful that the sword net he had unleashed was extremely hard. How can ordinary demon cultivators fire destroy it? Sword net condense. After regaining his composure, Tai Jun thrust his sword forward. In the blink of an eye, a dense sword net was condensed in midair. Every sword chi was as delicate as a spider's web and contained a violent chi. When Qinfang's golden saber chi landed on the sword net, it was as if it had sunk into the bottom of the sea, and there was no more movement. "Go!" Tai Jun waved his hand, and the sword net suddenly dispersed into thousands of sword chi. Every sword chi carried the power to break the sky, and the sky was filled with ear-piercing sounds of wind breaking. Qin Feng dared not to underestimate the attack of the sword net. He quickly stepped on the golden tornado wheel and dodged the attack. 2 balls of fire flickered in the sky, but there were too many sword chi. How could he dodge all of them? In a rage, Qin Feng took out the spear of rat halos and spun it. The spear was ablaze, and it looked like a flaming wheel dancing in the sky. Bang, bang, bang. The sword chi turned into threads and melted when they came into contact with the destructive fire. However, every sword chi contained a powerful force. The moment they collided with the spear of rat halos, a series of loud noises rang out, and a violent airflow forced Qin Feng to retreat. Huh, let's see how you're going to fight me. Tai Jun sneered. He swung his short sword again, and another thousands of sword chi formed a net. This time, it trapped Qin Feng's legs. The spear of rat halos in his hand was still spinning rapidly, blocking the sword chi that was flying towards him. However, he was unable to move and could only allow the violent aura in the sword chi to explode around him. Soon, Qin Feng's white robe was blown to pieces. Seeing that Qin Feng was injured, Takano Jun leaped forward like a meteor streaking across the sky. In a few breaths, he arrived in front of Qin Feng. Tai Jun sneered. The short sword in his hand pierced through the air. This time, it formed a small sword chi. It was about 3 meters long, and it moved with the power of heaven and earth. It pierced towards Qin Feng's chest. Screech! At this critical moment, the angry cry of a bird pierced through the sky. Qin Feng's body was engulfed in flames, and the net of sword chi around his legs was burned. The flaming golden eagle spread its wings, and flames fell like rain. Qin Feng leaped onto the back of the flaming golden eagle and sprinted in the sky. Rumble! A loud sound came from the sea, and the fireball crashed into the sea, creating waves. Tai Jun's sword missed, and he hurriedly ran on the sea. His speed was extremely fast, and he created 2 waves that were several meters high behind him. Qin Feng, who was on the back of the flaming golden eagle, put on the blood demon armor and held the heavenly hawk bow in his hand. He pulled the bow, and dozens of purple hawks swooped down, chasing after Tai Jun along the sea. Qin Feng waved his hand, and the heavenly hawk bow became the spear of rat halos. The long spear pierced through the air, and hundreds of fireballs came crashing down, as if they were going to set the sea on fire. Bang, 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 bang. For a moment, the sea was filled with the sound of a tsunami. Tai Jun's body was hit several times, and his black ninja uniform had long been burned away. He ran on the sea naked, as if he was naked. Ayaya, Chinese boy, you've completely pissed me off. I'm going to cut you into 1,000 pieces, and then throw you into the sea to feed the fishes. An earth-shattering roar exploded on the surface of the sea. Tono-kun suddenly stood on the surface of the sea, and the dagger in his hand pierced upwards. The vast sea suddenly shook, and the surging momentum was comparable to the movement of the black tortoise when it first appeared. Rumble! Waves rose from all directions, and a sword net rose from the sea. This sword net was denser and more ferocious than Tai Jun's previous attack. The net was made of sword chi, but it was airtight and contained a large amount of seawater. It flew towards Qin Feng and the fireballs. Whoosh! The seawater soared into the sky like a dragon and immediately collided with the flames. The 2 extreme substances had a physical and chemical reaction, and the air was filled with billowing steam. It was as if they had entered the misty mountain villa. The flaming golden eagle was hit by the waves, and the powerful force hidden in the seawater sent it flying. It wailed in pain in the air. Qin Feng was furious, and his eyes spat out thick flames. With a thought, the flaming golden eagle was recalled back into the system. 2 fireballs leaped across the sea, and as soon as they reached Tai Jun's head, a sword came crashing down. Heaven burning blaze. Rumble! It was as if a hole had been blasted in the sky. Qin Feng used to use this skill with the blue-grade sky splitter axe. Now that he had switched to the golden phoenix sword, the power of the heaven burning blaze was more than 10 times stronger. dozens of fire phoenixes descended from the sky. They were fire phoenixes formed by the fire of destruction. Half of the sky was set ablaze, and it was as if Qin Feng's anger was endless. The temperature soared, and the seawater evaporated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Tai Jun ran on the sea naked, and his skin began to emit smoke. He looked like a chicken that was about to be roasted. The sea surged again, and Tai hastily waved his sword. The sword Qi formed an impenetrable net, and it soared into the sky with half of the river water and collided with the fire of destruction. The sound of the explosion was incessant, and the sky was filled with fog. The visibility was less than half a meter, and even the battleships in the distance were affected. Yuan Fu and the Japanese soldiers were shocked. When they turned to look at Qin Feng's battle, they forgot about their own attacks. Brat, as a shinobi of Japan, I've received the strictest training, and this kind of special training is common. Let's see how you're going to. The sky was filled with fog, and Tai Yi was overjoyed. In a thick fog, it was difficult to see a person clearly, let alone fight. But Tai Yi was not afraid. He had his own unique attack method. But before he could finish his sentence, he heard a thunderous roar and a tiger's roar behind him. His body was hit by the gust of wind, and he was sent flying into the sea. Qin Feng stood on the surface of the sea where Takano Kuin had been sent flying. He wore a pair of strange glasses on his face. This was the smoke glasses he had just purchased from his system. Despite the thick fog, Qin Feng's vision was clear. After sending Ta Yi flying with the special Thunder Tiger Fist, Qin Feng looked at the sea. He waved his hand, and a fiery red cannon rested on his shoulder. He aimed at the bottom of the sea and fired. Boom! The fire dragon cannon was so powerful that it blasted a hole in the sea. Although Tai Yi was as agile as a fish in the sea, he was not faster than the cannon. As soon as he emerged from the water, he was sent flying into the sky by the explosion. Swoosh! 2 balls of fire danced in the fog like a lighthouse on the sea in the middle of the night. In a few breaths, Qin Feng had arrived above Takano Kuin's head and raised the golden phoenix high above his head. Takano Kuin's face turned pale with fright. Qin Feng, don't kill, boom. Before Tai Yi could finish his words, a loud explosion exploded on his body. The golden blade was so powerful that it directly split the dense fog into 2. Chapter 1276. Tago Kuin's body exploded on the surface of the sea. Blood and flesh splattered across the sea and were carried away by the wind. The Japan's #1 godly ninja, who had made a name for himself over 20 years ago and defeated the elites of various countries, had fallen. At the same time, Kiron Kuin led Xiuya and the rest into the Huaxiao base on the opposite shore. This time, there were 4 Japanese godly ninjas and more than 50 elite ninjas. Some of them were heavenly ninjas, and most of them were earthly ninjas. The Huaxia base was vulnerable against such a powerful team. However, just as they reached the shore, they heard a shout behind them. Dragon God Senpai, the enemy is here. The voice came from the Japanese ninjas and shocked Kiron Kuin and his men. As ninjas, they had been trained in assassination techniques since young. Their plan to sneak into the Huaxiao base was to assassinate. Initially, everything was going smoothly. However, there was a traitor in their team. Xiuya? It's you. Kiron Kuin glared at Xiuya. Xiuya leaped into the air and landed in front of the tent. Her beautiful face was covered with frost. She glared at Kiron Kuin and said, Kiron Kuin, how dare you violate my body? I'll kill you with my own hands. A few days ago, Kiron Kuin called Xiuya to his room and tried to force himself on her. At that time, Xiuya only felt disgusted, but she did not want to kill him. However, now that she had become Qin Feng's woman, Xiuya wished that she could kill Kiron Kuin on the spot. This is bad. The Chinese battleships are attacking the island. Yi Meihui looked at the sea behind her when she saw Xiuya's betrayal. The fog on the sea had mostly dissipated. The Chinese battleships were attacking ferociously, and they had reached the shore of the island. Iceman's expression was grave. He shouted, shit, we've been tricked. Xiuya has surrendered to China. She and Qin Feng have tricked us. Baka, Xiuya, do you really think China can win? With Tago-kun on the island, all the Chinese soldiers will die. Also, this Huaxia base is guarded by a bunch of trash. Our original plan was to assassinate them. Since that's the case, let's kill them all. Kirom-kun's words calmed everyone down. In the eyes of these ninjas, China's dragon sect was nothing. However, at this moment, dozens of figures flew over. They were China's 9 dragons and some dragon sect elites led by the divine dragon. Chiyoya hurriedly ran into the crowd, looked at the divine dragon, and said, "Senior divine dragon, where is Lord Qin Fengjun?" Initially, Divine Dragon and Yin Wushuang didn't believe Chiyoya's words. But now, they treated her as one of their own. Chiyoya looked at Divine Dragon and Yin Wushuang meaningfully and said, "Qin Feng has gone to deal with Lord Tai. We just need to focus on guarding the base." Chiyoya was well aware of Tono-kun's strength. She could not help but look at the sea with a worried expression. However, at this moment, Black-Eyed Demon raised his heavenly slash and slashed at her. "You bitch, you'd rather surrender China and be fucked by Qin Feng than let me play with you. I'll kill you first." Black-Eyed Chi's face was ferocious. This blade suddenly condensed in the void. This blade was dozens of meters long. The surrounding wind suddenly rose. The Chinese 9 dragons' expressions changed dramatically. They all retreated. The dragon god reminded everyone and pulled Chiyoya, who was still in a daze, to the side. Rumble. The blade Chi landed on the ground and split a deep gash. A few dragon sect elites could not dodge in time and were smashed into pieces by the explosion. The dragon sect members were enraged. Divine Dragon took the lead and leaped into the air. The heaven cloud flying sword turned into a rainbow and went into the midst of the Japanese ninjas. The ninjas screamed in pain. Wherever the pink light flashed, a ninja would die. Black-Eyed Demon and the others were shocked. They immediately ordered everyone to disperse. The battle between the two sides started, and it was extremely intense at the beginning. After Divine Dragon killed 6 earthly ninjas in a row, he stabbed at the sky and went after Black-Eyed Kun. "Baka! All of you Huaxia ants die! Die!" Thrice Man came back to his senses and slashed at the void with his dual blade slash. A rainbow of sword Chi soared into the sky and blew up a few rows of tents in China's base. The Chinese elites hiding in the surroundings were all exposed. They simply brandished their weapons and rushed forward. There were also many soldiers who fired their guns and killed a few Japanese ninjas in the chaos. Yi Meihui also moved. She was like a swallow that could move agilely in the rain of bullets. In a few breaths, she arrived in front of the row of gunners. With a wave of her hand, the flexible sword on her waist swung out and pierced through the row of soldiers. "Bastard, let this old lady fight you." Seeing this scene, Lu Bingbing was furious. She waved her long sword and rushed over. Yin Wushuang's expression changed drastically. Worried about Lu Bingbing's strength, she quickly followed. The sword Chi surged, and the battle was extremely intense. Lu Bingbing and Yin Wushuang were no match for Yi Meihui, even if they joined hands. When the flexible sword was about to pierce through Lu Bingbing's heart, another beautiful figure flashed by. Chiyoya forced Yi Meihui to retreat with her blade. On the other side, Thrice Man was surrounded by the 9 dragons of China. These people were all experts at the peak of stage 9 inner chi. However, in front of Thrice Man, who was comparable to stage 3 true chi, they still couldn't resist. Black Eye Lord was fighting with Dragon God. Dragon God had broken through to stage 2 true chi. With the help of various spiritual weapons and cultivation methods, he was barely able to resist Black Eye Lord's power. Bang, bang, bang. Loud noises kept coming from the battle. After Thrice Man slapped away the Black Dragon and White Phoenix, he looked up to the sky and laughed. "Ha ha! Is this the strength of a Chinese martial arts expert? They're really too trashy." Yi Meihui also had a disdainful look on her face. She had completely suppressed the joint attack of Chiyoya and the other 2 women and was about to kill them. However, at this moment, an angry roar came from the distant mountain peak. The sound was like a muffled thunder, shaking everyone's mind. "Japanese ants, Golden Fur Lion King is here." Let's see who dares to behave atrociously with me. Golden Fur Lion King had a head of golden curly hair and held the dragon slayer's saber in his hand. He stood on the mountain peak thousands of meters away, but everyone stopped and looked at him. Black Eye Lord's eyes carried a trace of disdain as he roared. Lionhead, don't stand there and play tricks. Come here if you have the guts. Grandpa can hack you to death with one slash. As soon as Black Eye Lord's arrogant words fell, the figure on the mountain peak disappeared in a flash. A fierce wind suddenly blew in the surroundings. After a few breaths, a black shadow appeared on top of Black Eye Lord's head. A dazzling golden long saber slashed down from the sky. Golden Fur Lion King's angry roar was heard. Grandpa is here. Go to hell. A condensed saber aura surged over. Black Eye Lord seemed to be frozen in place. He stood on the spot and looked at the falling golden light with fear in his eyes. This saber was so powerful that Black Eye Lord felt the pressure from standing in front of Qin Feng. He was incomparably shocked. Who was this curly-haired old man? When did China have such a powerful expert? Rumble. A loud sound shook the heavens. This saber landed solidly on Black Eye Lord's head. A crack appeared between his eyebrows. But in the blink of an eye, his entire body exploded into flesh and blood. Everyone was shocked. No matter if it was the Japanese ninjas or the members of China's dragon sect, they were all shocked by Golden Fur Lion King's strength. Sanjiro was stunned on the ground and forgot to attack. Yimei Hui's pair of beautiful eyes widened and her jaw dropped to the ground. A mere island country dares to behave atrociously in my China? Die! Golden Fur Lion King's appearance was majestic and domineering. The aura of level 4 true Qi suppressed everyone to the point that they couldn't breathe. Just as his saber slashed down on Black Eye Lord, he leaped up and raised his saber. Sanjiro didn't even have the time to react and was directly smashed into pieces by the saber aura. The remaining Yi Mei Hui and the rest of the Japanese ninjas were dumbstruck. Suddenly, someone knelt on the ground and crazily kowtowed to Golden Fur Lion King and begged for mercy. Lord, please spare me. I'm willing to surrender. With someone taking the lead, many Japanese ninjas also surrendered. Yi Mei Hui was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. As a Japanese shinobi, she had undergone extremely strict special training and indoctrination. Even if she had to commit suicide, she wouldn't surrender. You bunch of scum, you're simply a disgrace to the Japanese ninjas. Go to hell. Without needing Golden Fur Lion King to attack again, Yi Mei Hui swept her soft sword and the dozen or so ninjas who were kneeling on the ground immediately exploded. The remaining 20 or so people originally had the intention to surrender, but at this moment, they immediately dispelled this idea. Under Golden Fur Lion King's might, the remaining people couldn't withstand a single blow. Golden Fur Lion King was merciless. With a few slashes of his saber, all the ninjas who came to attack were killed. The members of Dragon Sect could not recover for a long time. They were shocked by Golden Fur Lion King's strength. Only Dragon God knew where Golden Fur Lion King came from. As for the others, they were full of suspicion. When did China have such a strong person? Between this person and Qin Feng, who was more powerful? The battle on China's base had stopped. It could be said that they had won a complete victory. After Qin Feng killed Tai Jun, he put away Tai Jun's Gale godly sword, stepped on the sea, and flew towards the island. The Japanese warships were also defeated by Black Tortoise and sank to the bottom of the sea. A group of soldiers hid on the shore. Master Miyagawa was trembling in fear. He kept searching for Tano Coin on the sea with his binoculars, but he couldn't even see a shadow. Are you looking for me? 2 balls of flame flashed past, and Qin Feng had already landed behind Master Miyagawa, but he didn't notice him at all. Ah, you're Qin Feng? Miyagawa turned around and was so shocked that he dropped the binoculars in his hands. Yes, it's me. Are you the commander-in-chief of this island battle? Qin Feng looked at Miyagawa with a smile. His smile was as frightening as a demon from hell. The 2 guards behind Miyagawa quickly opened fire. However, before the bullets could be fired, 2 white lights flashed past, and the guards' necks were split open. They were already dead. Miyagawa was so scared that he took a few steps back. He shouted while trembling, Don't come near me. I have a godly ninja in Japan, especially the number one godly ninja, Tano-kun. He's very powerful. If you dare to hurt even a strand of my hair, Tano-kun. Chapter 1277. Looking at Gale and Qin Feng's hand, Master Magawa's eyes almost dropped to the ground. Japanese godly ninjas had a godly blade in their hands. As the saying went, where the sword is, the ninja lives. Where the sword falls, the ninja dies. Now that Tado-kun had lost his godly blade, it was obvious that he was dead. After confirming Tado-kun's death, Miyagawa's legs turned to jelly and he fell to the ground. Tado-kun was the spiritual pillar of this island battle. Now that he was dead, Master Miyagawa was in complete despair. China's Qin Feng, don't kill me. I'm willing to retreat with my men. Knowing that the situation was hopeless, Miyagawa knelt before Qin Feng like a stray dog. Qin Feng was a decisive person. How could he let these invaders go? Moreover, Miyagawa was not completely convinced. He was only begging for mercy because he had no other way out. Let you go. Do you think that's possible? Before Qin Feng could speak, a furious roar was heard. Yuan Fu and the 5 tigers had already come ashore. Miyagawa looked towards the shore, his eyes filled with fear and disbelief. The Japanese warships were destroyed. The soldiers either jumped into the sea or were killed. The giant black tortoise was leaning against the shore. It looked as if it could destroy the island with a single burp. Sirs of China, you can't kill me. Seeing that they had lost this island battle, Miyagawa lost all his confidence. He kowtowed to the 5 tigers and Qin Feng. Everyone looked at him with disdain. Miyagawa was a high-ranking official of Japan. How could he be so spineless? He was a disgrace to Japan. Cut the crap. This is the consequence of daring to invade our Huaxiao land. Yuan Fu guarded the border and killed countless invaders with his spear. He waved his hand, and a silver spear pierced towards Miyagawa. Miyagawa broke out in cold sweat. He quickly shouted, It's useless even if you kill me. This island is rich in resources and is located at the sea transportation hub. Why is it that only our empire is interested in this place? Actually, all the other countries have their eyes on this place. Japan is just a chess piece. They are waiting to reap the benefits. Yuan Fu's expression changed. With the spear in his hand hovering in front of Miyagawa's throat, he asked coldly, Which other countries are interested in this place? At this point, Miyagawa had no way out. He said whatever was on his mind. There are many countries, such as the United States, England, Germany, Russia, but the most important thing is still the United States. The higher-ups of Japan are just pawns in their hands. They want to use our hands to take down the island. Miyagawa's words caused everyone's expression to turn serious. They had thought that the island battle would be over after they defeated the Japanese troops. Who would have thought that Japan was just a puppet of the U.S.? Brother Yuan Fu, we have to report this to the Dragon Sect immediately and let the higher-ups of the country come up with a plan. One of the 5 tigers of China had a grave expression. Yuan Fu also frowned. He looked at Qin Feng and asked, Qin Feng, what do we do now? In today's world, the United States was the most powerful country. Their air, sea, and land forces were the strongest. Although China had defeated Japan, if they were to fight with the United States, it would be a tough battle. Everyone looked worried, and Miyagawa's mood calmed down. He could tell that the Chinese were afraid of the Americans, and he thought that his life was saved. Unexpectedly, there was a flash of white light. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Gong Chuan's head flew off and blood splattered on the ground. Humph! What is there to be afraid of? This is an island, and they want to fight on the sea? Our country has the great black tortoise. What is there to be afraid of? If they want to play with mystical powers, I can find some people and beat them to a pulp. Moreover, the mystical powers of the United States are the werewolves and the blood descendants. I have friends there. The 5 tigers of China were afraid of the United States' strength. But Qin Feng's expression did not change at all. Yuan Fu and the others did not know what Qin Feng had done in the past year. He had cooperated with the blood-descendant Prince Dracula to complete the mission of the William family's mutants and forged a deep friendship with Dracula. He also knew the strength of the blood descendant very well. Even if the United States sent the blood descendant, Qin Feng would not be afraid. Qin Feng, why you really killed him? This time, we have completely become enemies with the United States. Yuan Fu recovered with great difficulty and looked at Qin Feng with a face full of worry. The rest of the four tigers looked extremely serious, and there was even a hint of blaming Qin Feng in the depths of their eyes. They knew that Qin Feng was very powerful, but he was young and frivolous. He did not care about the consequences when he did things. If he killed a high-ranking official of Japan, wouldn't that cause a crisis for the country? He's just an ant from Japan. So what if I kill him? Qin Feng was domineering. Yuan Fu secretly shook his head. In fact, he could not wait for Miyagawa to be killed. But if he did that, China would be dragged into a predicament. The enemy troops on the island were all wiped out. But at this moment, a roar came from afar. The five tigers of China's expression changed drastically. Yuan Fu looked into the sky and exclaimed, "Oh no, those are the United States fighter jets." Miyagawa was right. Looks like the United States really has their eyes on the island. Everyone looked up at the dozens of fighter jets coming from the sky, and they became nervous. The four tigers of China and some dragon sect members looked at Qin Feng with some resentment, as if they were blaming Qin Feng for his rashness. Qin Feng did not care. He leaped and stepped on the golden whirlwind wheel. There seemed to be two balls of flame flickering in the sky. In the blink of an eye, they reached the group of fighter jets. "General Dirk, these Huaxia people are really reckless. If they really dare to kill Miyagawa, we must teach them a lesson." The soldiers in the fighter jets were having a conversation. "They're just Japan. They're just a pawn of the United States. They fought a fierce battle with China. Although they were completely wiped out, they also hurt China. We should take this opportunity to defeat the Huaxia army and take over the island." "General Dirk, I saw two balls of flame flying over." "What's that? Don't scare yourself. Focus on the battle." Rumble. While the few of them were having a heated conversation, a loud explosion sounded in the sky. The soldiers in the remaining fighter jets were shocked. General Dirk quickly shouted, "What's going on? How did Fighter Jet 12 crash?" "I don't know, General Dirk. It seems like there's an enemy attack." The American fighter jets were dumbfounded. They did not see anything, so how could there be an enemy attack? Could it be that Fighter Jet 12 caught fire and exploded? But these were the most advanced fighter jets of the United States. The probability of them bursting into flames was almost zero. Rumble. Just when everyone was confused, another explosion sounded. This time, 3 fighter jets crashed. "Oh no, there's an enemy attack. Everyone retreat." Admiral Decker cried out in alarm. He finally realized that something was wrong. The soldiers in the remaining fighter jets were scared half to death. The pilots immediately turned around, but before they could escape, the fighter jets exploded one after another. Loud explosions sounded in the sky. The flames from the explosions seemed to set the sky on fire. Yuan Fu and the others stood on the island and watched with their mouths agape. Even they could not determine Qin Feng's location. But everyone knew that this was Qin Feng's doing. The wind whistled past their ears. Unknowingly, Qin Feng had landed on the ground. He stood at the spot where he was standing before, as if he had never moved. "Qin Feng, Yuan Fu looked at the wreckage of the fighter jets scattered on the sea. He could not utter a complete sentence for a long time. The remaining 4 tigers and dragon sect members were shocked. They were once again shocked by Qin Feng's strength. "Uncle Fu, I've said that no one can invade China. It doesn't matter if it's Japan or the United States. I'll destroy as many as they come." Yuan Fu looked at Qin Feng and could not come back to his senses for a long time. In just a year and a half, Qin Feng had turned from a powerless, hedonistic young master to the #1 martial artist in China. This leap and change was hard to accept. Looking at Qin Feng's unyielding strength and dominance, even Yuan Fu was impressed. "Good job, Qin Feng. I'm on your side now. Isn't it just the United States? Why should China be afraid?" Yuan Fu was also a man of character. He was influenced by Qin Feng and could not wait to pick up his gun and start a massacre. The remaining 4 Tigers and Dragon sect members were still afraid. That was the world's superpower, the United States. Their naval and air forces were the most powerful. If they really fought, how could China win? Qin Feng waited on the island for a while, but he did not see any more U.S. fighter jets. It seemed that the dozens of fighter jets that were destroyed were just there to do intelligence work or to monitor the Japanese forces. At this moment, 6 Chinese warships sailed over the sea. After the warships docked, Dragon God rushed up with a group of members. The battle on the island had been going on for more than a month, but everyone had been suppressed on the opposite side of the coast. Now that they were finally on the island, Dragon God and the others were extremely excited. Qin Feng, are you all right? Lu Bingbing and the other 2 girls rushed to Qin Feng's side as soon as they got ashore. Xiaoyu stood obediently at the side like a maid. Lu Bingbing and Yin Wushuang hugged Qin Feng's arms. Ever since the 2 girls went crazy together that night, they were no longer jealous of each other. We've won a great victory here. Don't worry, everyone. Now that the 6 ninjas of Japan have been killed and the other forces have been eradicated, the island belongs to China after all. Qin Feng's words made everyone's blood boil. Everyone was shocked when they thought about how he killed the 6 ninjas of Japan alone. When Dragon God arrived, he saw the U.S. fighter jets in the sky and asked, "Oh yeah, I saw you destroy dozens of fighter jets. What's going on? They don't look like Japan's fighter jets." Yuan Fu's expression turned serious. The 4 Tigers of China looked at Qin Feng gloomily. "Those are U.S. fighter jets. Japan is just a chess piece this time. I guess it won't be long before the U.S. launches an even stronger attack." Qin Feng didn't avoid the topic and analyzed the current situation. Dragon God and the others were shocked. They were talking about the U.S. Could China survive if they really fought? Qin Feng, you've gotten yourself into big trouble this time. The U.S. is so powerful. You should have told me first. Even Dragon God was a little afraid. Qin Feng said indifferently, "Since I've made a move, I'm confident that I can defeat the U.S. Senior Dragon God, don't worry. I'll go get some friends to help." Chapter 1278. Lu Bingbing and Yin Wushuang were worried. They paced back and forth on the island, waiting for Qin Feng's news. The 5 Tigers of China and the Dragon sect gathered together. The 12 peak leaders were shocked when they heard the news. They had already gone to discuss the matter with the higher-ups of China. The crowd sighed. Everyone was talking about the United States. Most people were not optimistic about the United States. Flying Tiger was one of the 5 Tigers of China. He was even more depressed than the Black Dragon. He said, "I want to stop him, but can I stop him with my strength? Don't be too depressed. I believe Qin Feng can fight against the U.S. Yuan Fu comforted them when he saw their morale was low. Even he himself was not confident. Dongfang Mingwang was telling the truth. Everyone thought so too. However, they could only wait and see the U.S.'s attitude and the plans of the higher-ups of China. At this moment, the 12 peak leaders rushed back. It seemed like there was news from China. The Divine Dragon walked up to them quickly. The rest followed closely behind. Everyone was shocked by his words. The passion that had been hidden for a long time was ignited. Now that things had come to this, the Dragon God's gaze sharpened. Then let's get ready for battle. Remember, we are China's last line of defense. We must not be defeated. Everyone worked together with the determination to fight to the death. Needless to say, all the martial arts powerhouses looked to the sky. A row of fighter jets appeared and roared toward them. At this moment, Yuan Fu looked to the sea and shouted, "The U.S. Navy is here too. Senior Divine Dragon, Yuan Fu requests to lead the 5 Tigers of China to fight against the power of the sea." All the powerhouses received the order and rushed toward the battlefield. Boom! One of the fighter jets exploded and fell into the sea. The rest of the fighter jets aimed at the Divine Dragon. Bullets rained down on him. There were also tracking missiles aimed at the Divine Dragon. He could not fight back at all. The combat strength of both sides was not on the same level. The U.S. fighter jets and warships were extremely advanced. They quickly repelled the Chinese soldiers. The Divine Dragon and the other martial arts powerhouses were also holding on. Although they were strong, they could not unleash their full potential in the face of such advanced high-tech weapons. Senior Divine Dragon, we can't hold on any longer. The 12 upper peaks were old, but they had no choice but to face the enemy. As they fought, they roared, "Everyone hold on. We are the last line of defense of the island." The way this group of people appeared was incomparably shocking. All of them stepped on the sea. Who are those people? Nonsense. Those are obviously our Huaxia people. Our Huaxia reinforcements have arrived. The people were stunned by the martial artists who rushed over. In fact, they even forgot that they were still in a fierce battle. At the front was a row of beauties led by Su Ruo Ro, Xiao Li, and Thousand Illusion Child. As soon as they arrived, the three women shouted at the crowd on the shore. "Is there a war here? It's been a long time since I've hit someone. I'm going to kill to my heart's content today." Brothers, kill. We've been training hard day and night, practicing martial arts to strengthen our bodies. Today, it finally comes in handy. Those who came were all experts from the big sects in the outer martial arts world. Qinfen had asked Su Ruoro to bring them here, through the Hero Alliance. "Brothers, the reinforcements I've called for are here." Qinfen's loud roar sounded like muffled thunder. There were many experts in the outer martial arts world. More than 100 people rushed over. The weakest among them was at the inner 80%, and there were even several experts in the true energy realm. Their combat power was even stronger than that of the 6 ninjas of Japan. The people in the outer martial arts world were all impatient. As soon as they arrived on the island, they joined the battle without saying anything. Huge waves surged on the sea. Qinfen stepped on the black tortoise and left. Dozens of martial arts masters followed him on the sea. The American battleship could not withstand a single blow. Many martial arts masters stepped on the local battleship and killed all the soldiers inside in minutes. "General Tom, the enemy's reinforcements are too strong. We can't hold them off." On one of the warships, General Tom, the commander-in-chief of this battle, was watching everything with binoculars. When he saw the experts of the outer martial arts world who had rushed over, he was also dumbfounded. General Tom gave the order, and a few warships and fighter planes left hurriedly. Dracula, who had become the mysterious leader of the American force, controlled all the forces of the Blood Kindred. He frowned and said, "Huaxia warriors? Who's their leader?" "Bastard, leave Huaxia quickly. You can't afford to offend Qinfen, or you'll be buried alive." Putting aside the friendship between him and Qinfen, no one in the entire United States was a match for Qinfen in terms of strength. Even Dracula was ashamed of his inferiority. The American forces had all left. Tom stood far away and secretly took some pictures of the battle. When he sent them to the leader of the werewolf troop, the leader called in less than 10 minutes. Chapter 1279. Morrison had already hung up the phone. General Tom was still in a daze. He even suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. The United States actually wanted to retreat? Stop fighting for the island? Why was that? In General Tom's eyes, the United States was invincible. Which country on earth would dare to fight with the United States for a mere island? Tom had never cared about Japan or China. However, the outcome was beyond his expectations. The United States finally retreated and left the island. There were also spies and intelligence agents from various countries lurking around the island. When everyone saw the defeat of Japan and the withdrawal of the American troops, they were all dumbfounded. The leaders of various countries were in an uproar. The leader of Japan was holding an emergency meeting. Those who were able to sit at the meeting table were all top figures in Japan's military and government. "Baka, I just received news that we lost the island battle. Miyagawa was killed and the 6 ninjas were killed. This is a disgrace to our empire." The Prime Minister of Japan sat on the high seat. He was fuming. The faces of the politicians in the 2 rows below were ice cold and filled with shock. Even now, they still couldn't believe this fact. "Prime Minister, we can't just let this go. I suggest we send reinforcements to suppress China's prestige," a cabinet official said. A representative from Yamaguchi-gumi was also present. "I agree with Tanaka-sama's suggestion. In this battle, Yamaguchi-gumi suffered heavy casualties. We must take back the island. Prime Minister, I request to lead the troops in a battle. A military official stood up. All the officials and politicians present suggested attacking back. The Prime Minister suddenly shouted, "All of you, shut up! Attack back? How?" Now that the 6 ninjas have been killed, the ninja base has suffered a serious blow. Not long ago, China even forced the United States to retreat. Do you think we could defeat China? These officials usually did not care about the news on the island. When they heard that China had defeated the United States, the meeting room was in an uproar. What? China defeated the United States? How is that possible? Prime Minister, is there a mistake in the information? The United States is the most powerful country in the world. It's over, it's over. If that's the case, wouldn't Huaxia become famous in this island battle? Everyone had different expressions on their faces. Most of them still did not believe the news. The Prime Minister's face was filled with helplessness. Finally, he sighed and said, "The intelligence is definitely correct. The forces of the other countries stationed near the island have quietly retreated. Now that even the United States has been defeated, no one would dare to challenge the dignity of Huaxia. This matter ends here." Meeting adjourned. The Prime Minister stood up and walked out of the house, his face filled with helplessness and solemnity. The rest of the high-ranking officials and politicians were still dumbfounded in their seats, unable to recover their senses for a long time. No matter how hard everyone racked their brains, they still couldn't understand. Japan had always been at the advantage in this battle of the islands. So how did China suddenly gain the upper hand? They even fought off the Americans? This was simply unimaginable. Japan wasn't the only country that was shocked by this news. Many countries on Earth were dumbfounded when they heard the news. The Russian Tsar gave the order to stop spying on the island. The British Prime Minister ordered the withdrawal of troops. The German president secretly withdrew the mysterious force. And the first thing he did was to congratulate Huaxia on the victory of the island battle. All the countries were fence-sitters, and they would form alliances with whoever was more powerful. Because of this battle, Huaxia's status in the international arena instantly rose. The secret organizations of the various countries immediately raised their evaluation of Huaxia by several levels, and listed it as one of the countries that couldn't be easily offended. The Battle of the Islands had completely stopped. Qin Feng and the others were still guarding the island to prevent the other countries from launching a sneak attack. The outcome of this battle was completely under Qin Feng's control. His reputation also soared after this battle, and he became the most powerful person in the secular world of Huaxia. Ding! Congratulations, host Qin Feng, for bringing China's prestige to greater heights. The system has rewarded host Qin Feng with the Divine Skill interface. The system's notification suddenly rang in Qin Feng's mind. He didn't remember this mission in the system. At this time, he heard Little Pig say, "Master, this is the system's additional reward. You've led Huaxia to defeat the other countries and defended their territory. You've received the system's recognition, so you'll receive an additional reward as a reward." This was the first time Qin Feng received such a reward since he obtained the Hedonist sovereign system. He was suddenly excited. The reward would definitely not be too bad. With a slight thought, Qin Feng entered the system. Currently, Qin Feng had opened more than 10 interfaces in the Hedonist sovereign system. Now, there was the Divine Skill interface. Divine Skill interface. Confuse various skills to create your own divine skill. Qin Feng looked at the introduction of the Divine Skill interface and became interested in it. He had learned many martial skills and skills. If he could master all of them, his strength would definitely increase. "Master, why don't you try fusing the wind blade and the destructive flames first?" Little Pig suggested excitedly. Qin Feng activated the mental cultivation methods of these two martial skills. The system's voice resounded in his mind. "This fusion will cost you 100,000 hedonist points. Do you want to continue?" Qin Feng was shocked. This divine skill interface was really burning money. Just fusing a martial skill required 100,000 hedonist points. However, Little Pig said, "Master, your wind blade is an earth rank martial skill, and your destructive flames is the 10,000 beast true fire. These two skills are very powerful. After fusing them, you'll be able to create an even more powerful new skill. Naturally, the cost will be higher. Qin Feng looked at his hedonist points balance. He still had 1,449,000 hedonist points. He gritted his teeth and said, "Fuse." A muffled rumble exploded in Qin Feng's mind. A majestic wave of information surged in his mind. Ding! Congratulations, host Qin Feng, for spending 100,000 hedonist points to successfully fuse the Wind Blade and Destructive Flames. Please name the new martial skill. This new martial skill was created by Qin Feng, so the system gave him the right to name it. Qin Feng wasn't in a hurry to name it. He activated the mental cultivation method of the Wind Blade in his mind. A ray of fire suddenly flew out and condensed into a solid saber chi. The fused martial skill was indeed powerful. It made the fire of the Wind Blade even more powerful. At the same time, it also increased the attack speed of the destructive flames. There's fire in blade. Let's call it Fire Blade. After witnessing the power of the new skill, Qin Feng named it Fire Blade. He was also interested in the divine skill interface. He looked through the skills he already had and prepared to fuse a few more new skills. Basic sword skill, solitary 9 swords, phantom whip technique, special grade thunder tiger fists, sky burning flaming technique. Qin Feng realized that he had learned a lot of martial skills. He had all kinds of martial skills: saber, sword, fist, whip, etc. However, he didn't choose those low-grade martial skills. If he fused them, they wouldn't be that powerful. After a round of selection, Qin Feng fused the special grade Thunder Tiger Fists and Solitary 9 swords together. Rumble. Another explosion occurred in Qin Feng's mind. A moment later, the system's notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations, host Qin Feng, for spending 100,000 hedonist points to successfully fuse a new skill. Please name the new skill. Qin Feng looked at his fists. It was as if there was a cold glint on them. He suddenly swung his fists, and the sound of thunder and tiger roars rang out. However, there was also the sound of swords humming. Qin Feng had only swung his fists, but he had already sent out dozens of surging sword chi. Ha ha! Good. This time, the combination of fists and swords will catch the enemy off guard. Qin Feng was very satisfied with this new skill. After thinking for a moment, he came up with a new name. Let's call it Special Grade Thunder Tiger Flying Sword Fist. When Little Pig heard this name, he immediately rolled down from Qin Feng's shoulder. Master, do you want to reconsider the name? Qin Feng rolled his eyes at Little Pig. Why? This name is so good. It's low-key and meaningful. Most importantly, it's very easy to remember. Don't you think so? Little Pig didn't know what to say to Qin Feng. This name is easy to remember? What's it called again? After fusing 2 new skills, Qin Feng stopped. He looked at his hedonist points, which had increased from 1,449,000 to 1,249,000. His heart was bleeding. At this moment, everyone was gathered on the island for a bonfire party to celebrate the victory of this island battle. Qin Feng was the person with the highest contribution, so he was dragged into the crowd in no time. Everyone, our great hero, Senior Qin Feng, is here. Let's give him a round of applause. The Divine Dragon was the first to clap, and the others immediately followed suit. Hundreds of people gathered in a big circle and clapped thunderously. Their gazes were fixed on Qin Feng, and their emotions were indescribable. The 4 tigers of Huaxia were extremely ashamed. Before this, they were complaining about Qin Feng's recklessness for killing Master Miyagawa of Japan. However, after witnessing Qin Feng's power, they were completely in awe of him. The 9 dragons of Huaxia's eyes flickered. These people were originally known as the most mysterious powerhouses in the secular world of Huaxia, but because of Qin Feng's appearance, their legend fell. Even the divine dragon who stood beside Qin Feng became much dimmer. However, no one was jealous of Qin Feng. Instead, they were proud of him. Because of Qin Feng's appearance, Huaxia soared to the sky. Now, which country or power dared to offend Huaxia? You don't have to be so courteous with me. As a Huaxia citizen, this is what I should do. This time, it's all thanks to these martial arts heroes. They are also Huaxia's heroes. Qin Feng never put on airs in front of his friends. He pointed at the row of foreign martial arts experts. The dragon sect and Huaxia soldiers all looked over with reverence in their eyes. When these people arrived on the sea, they shocked everyone. Even the 9 dragons and 5 tigers of Huaxia were filled with emotions. The land of Huaxia was indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The foreign martial arts experts had developed to this stage. Any random one of them was at the pinnacle of stage 9 inner chi, and there were even a few true energy realm powerhouses among them. Originally, the secular world and the foreign martial arts world did not interact with each other. They developed peacefully together. However, because of Qin Feng, the two sides united. Now they fought together and gathered together to celebrate. Chapter 1280. The battle on the island had ended, and China had sent a large force to guard the island. Qin Feng left with Qiuya and the other 2 girls. He left Black Tortoise on the island to help China guard the sea. Updated fastest, it had been a long time since Qin Feng returned to Hero City. As soon as he arrived at Hero City with the 3 girls, the guards at the gate were stunned. Holy shit, City Lord Qin Feng is back. It's really young Master Qin. Quick, go and report that young Master Qin is back. Qin Feng's arrival caused an uproar in Hero City. Lin Bei and the other girls rushed over immediately. Lu Jia, Long Hair, Huang Jinghua, and the others also surrounded him. Hero City was now a bustling city with a population of around 100,000. Qin Feng was surrounded by tens of thousands of people, and he attracted the attention of many passers-by. Who's that guy? He's so big. This is crazy. Did you see those beauties? Those are the mistresses of Hero City, and those men are the higher-ups of Hero City. They're the elders of the city. They've been here since Hero City was first built. No way. Who is that guy? He looks so young, but he's so important? Qin Feng had left Acropolis for a long time. Legends about him were still circulating, but the number of people who knew him was decreasing. However, there were still a few sharp-eyed men and women in the crowd. They pointed at Qin Feng and exclaimed, That's young Master Qin, the #1 hedonistic young master of Acropolis. Holy shit, it's really young Master Qin. He's the city lord of Hero City. Oh no, let's go greet him and try to get our residency permit. It'll be great if we can stay here for a long time. Hero City had a beautiful environment with surging spiritual energy. The security here was top-notch, and no one dared to cause trouble here. There were shopping malls, hotels, schools, banks, and other facilities. It was as prosperous as a small Shanghai. As a resident of Acropolis City, what they wanted the most was to obtain a residence permit in Hero City so that they could live and work in peace and contentment. Even people from Jincheng City, Sky City, and Yunhai City yearned for Hero City. This place was known as heaven on earth. There were already a lot of people waiting to welcome Qin Feng. Now, waves after waves of passers-by surrounded Hero City, blocking the traffic. Qin Feng was shocked by everyone's enthusiasm. He hurriedly brought Lin Bei and the other women to the base in the depths of Hero City. This was a vast forest, and only the people that Qin Feng was most familiar with could enter. Even ordinary people who had residences in Hero City couldn't enter. The surrounding spiritual energy became denser, and the crowd finally decreased a lot. Qin Feng stood on a mountain peak and looked at the opposite Devil Beast Mountain, as well as the Sea Heart Great Array in River Song. He let out a long sigh of relief. It was Qiuya's first time in Hero City. She was stunned by the beautiful scenery and cultivation resources. Although Yan Wushuang and Lu Bingbing had been here before, they didn't like it. There was only one reason. There were too many beautiful women here. Lin Bei, Han Ying, Hua Yan, the Su sisters, Ma Xinxin, Shui Er, Rao Sherman, Zhang Kuku, Li Shanshan, Chang Exen, Liu Chun, Qiao Shi, Lu Wenjing, Lu Xiao Jia. The women were like flowers, and each of them represented a different flower. They surrounded Qin Fun and almost made him dizzy. Soon, Qin Fun's brows furrowed. He hugged Lin Bei Bei and asked, Where's your big sister Ling Xian? Lin Bei Bei's expression changed, and she said, That's right, I almost forgot. Big sister Ling Xian was taken away. Taken away by who? Qin Fun's expression suddenly became nervous. Lin Bei Bei hurriedly said, Qin Fun, don't worry. It was a few people dressed like female Taoist nuns. They passed by Hero City a while ago and felt the spiritual energy in the city surge, so they came to visit. At that time, it was Big Sister Ling Xian who received them. Those female Taoist nuns took a fancy to Big Sister Ling Xian and said that she had a natural charming physique. If she went back with them to cultivate, her cultivation would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Qin Fun was shocked. He knew that Zhao Ling Xian had a natural charming physique. However, aside from him, no one else could see through Zhao Ling Xian's physique. And someone else could? Who were those female Taoist nuns? Which sect are they from? Where did they take Ling Xian? Qin Fun continued to ask. They said that they were from the Extinction sect, and that it wasn't convenient for them to divulge information about their sect. Aya, what do we do? Where did they take Big Sister Ling Xian? At that time, everyone saw that those female Taoist nuns didn't seem like bad people. Moreover, Big Sister Ling Xian voluntarily followed them back to the sect to cultivate, so no one paid much attention to this. Now that I think about it, there seems to be a problem. Although Lin Bei Bei was weak, she was an intelligent woman, and she immediately became worried. Qin Fun was greatly shocked. They were from the Extinction sect? Not long ago, he had heard from Wen Yiming that there were extinction sects in the outer martial world, and the Thousand Shadow sect that his mother was from was one of them. What is it, Bei Bei? Is there a problem? Seeing that Lin Bei Bei was so worried that she was about to cry, the women hurriedly came over to comfort her. Lin Bei Bei sobbed. Didn't Big Sister Ling Xian leave with someone a while ago? I don't know which sect those people are from, but we can't find Big Sister Ling Xian now. The women were all shocked. At that time, most of them were busy with their own matters outside, so they hadn't seen those female Taoist nuns. Later, when they heard that Zhao Ling Xian voluntarily went to a sect to cultivate, they didn't think too much about it. They were even looking forward to Zhao Ling Xian's return after a cultivation, but it turned out that something was wrong. Bei Bei, don't worry. Qin Fun is now the alliance master of the martial world, so he'll definitely be able to find out where Ling Xian is. The women comforted Lin Bei Bei, but their expressions were also a bit anxious. Qin Fun knew very well that it was impossible for people from the outer martial world to find out where Zhao Ling Xian was. That was an Extinction sect, and Qin Fun hadn't even found the Thousand Shadow sect yet. That's right, Bei Bei. You said those female Taoist nuns wanted to take Ling Xian back to the sect because they fancied her constitution. Qin Fun quickly calmed down and quickly found a breakthrough point. The people in the Extinction sect were cut off from the rest of the world, and they only came out once every 10 years or even several decades. How powerful was this kind of sect? Even Qin Fun couldn't guess. How could such a powerful Extinction sect casually take in a disciple? It must be that Zhao Ling Xian's innate charming bones constitution matched the cultivation methods of those Taoist nuns. That's right, those Taoist nuns don't look like bad people. Big Sister Ling Xian should be fine. Lin Bei Bei started to cry softly as she prayed for Zhao Ling Xian in her heart. Qin Fun thought of another piece of news. A few days ago, he sent the entire outer martial world to find out about the Extinction sect and the Thousand Shadow sect. Although he didn't find the Thousand Shadow sect, he found out that the Thousand Shadow sect was a sect of seduction techniques. Their disciples were all female, and they cultivated mysterious seduction techniques that had been lost for a long time. Moreover, Zhao Ling Xian's innate charming bone constitution was an exceptional constitution for cultivating seduction techniques. Qin Fun's eyes lit up, and his body trembled slightly. Could it be that Zhao Ling Xian was taken away by the Thousand Shadow sect? Qin Fun, are you all right? Ling Xian will be fine. Don't worry too much. The women were frightened by Qin Fun's abnormal behavior and hurriedly showed concern for him. Qin Fun was no longer worried about Zhao Ling Xian's safety. She had been taken to the extinction sect to cultivate, so naturally, her life wouldn't be in danger. Qinfen was wondering if the Taoist nuns who had taken Zhao Lingxian were from the Thousand Shadows sect. After some analysis, he felt that there was an 80% chance that they were. This is great. We've finally found the Thousand Shadows sect's whereabouts. Qinfen had missed his mother for as long as he could remember, and he wanted to find her at every moment. Now that his mother's whereabouts were becoming clearer, Qinfen was incredibly excited. However, the other women couldn't understand what he was thinking. Seeing Qinfen's cold expression and silly smile, the women were all anxious to death. Qinfen, don't scare us. If you're sad, say it out loud. Don't keep it to yourself. Big Sister Lingxian is kind, so she'll definitely be fine. Let's go find her now. There are so many people in Hero City, so we'll definitely be able to find Big Sister Lingxian. The women tried to persuade Qinfen as they organized to find Lingxian. Seeing that the women were even more anxious than he was, Qinfen hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Lingxian should be fine. You won't be able to find her, so leave this to me." Qinfen gave everyone some instructions, then ran to the hotel suite. Previously, Little Pig had communicated with Qinfen telepathically, telling him to use the Divination Spirit Stone to divine Zhao Lingxian's location. Qinfen hadn't used the Divination Spirit Stone in a while, and he felt a bit confused. Back then, the Divination Spirit Stone couldn't even find the Serenity sect, which was even more secretive than the inner hidden sects. Would the Divination Spirit Stone be able to find her? As soon as Qinfen entered the room, he took out the Divination Spirit Stone. However, he heard Little Pig say, "Master, you can't divine Zhao Lingxian directly. You can put an item with Zhao Lingxian's aura on the Spirit Stone. That way, you'll have a higher chance of finding her." Qinfen hurriedly rummaged through the room and found Zhao Lingxian's clothes in the closet. The clothes had a trace of Zhao Lingxian's aura on them. Qinfen used the clothes to wipe the Divination Spirit Stone, letting her aura touch the Spirit Stone. He then activated the Divination Spirit Stone's effects. Whoosh! A strange wave of energy suddenly rippled out, covering the room with a milky white light. The Spirit Stone, which had been dull and lifeless like a rotten stone, suddenly shone with light. The surface of the Spirit Stone became like a mirror, and an image appeared within it. There were green mountains and clear waters, birdsong and fragrant flowers. It was like a fairyland, and the scenery was even more beautiful than the inner hidden sects in Hero City. Qinfen's eyebrows were tightly furrowed. He had no idea what this place was. Luckily, the image within the Divination Spirit Stone continuously changed, as if it was playing a movie. This was most likely the path that Zhao Lingxian had taken after being taken away. The environment within the image continuously changed, and Qinfen's eyes suddenly lit up. He had finally seen a familiar scene. As Qinfen's thoughts stopped, the image within the Divination Spirit Stone also froze. Chapter 1281. This is near Ice Lake Mountain? Is the entrance to the Thousand Shadows sect in this area? Qinfen looked at the image on the Spirit Stone more than 10 times. He was sure that the scenery around him was around Ice Lake Mountain. This made Qinfen a little confused. He had been at Ice Lake Mountain before, and there was only one sect there. There were no other sects within a 100-mile radius. How could the Thousand Shadows sect be near there? If that was really the case, the news of the extinct sect would have spread a long time ago, and they wouldn't be called the extinct sect. Qinfen, don't lock yourself in your room. Let's take a walk on the beach with you. I've already sent people from Hero City to find out where little sister Lingxian is. Don't worry. A large group of beauties rushed into Qinfeng's room. They were worried that Qinfen would not move after returning to his room, so they hurried over. Qinfen had just found a clue. He looked at the women with a gentle gaze and comforted them. "I'm really fine, and I have some clues. I'm going to Hero City in the outer martial world now. You guys can go do your own things." Qinfen left immediately. Although the women were reluctant to let him go, they knew he had important matters to attend to, so they did not ask him to stay. However, Chioya pitifully begged Qin Feng to bring her along. She had just pledged her allegiance to Qin Feng and was not familiar with Lin Bei and the other women. Moreover, she was a Japanese woman, so it was very awkward for her to stay in Hero City. Qin Feng understood Chioya's difficulties, so he brought her along and left Hero City. Now that he had activated the function of the spatial door, Qin Feng did not need to walk to Hero City in the outer martial world. He found a deserted place and activated the spatial door. Buzz! A strange energy wave rippled around the two of them. Qin Feng's expression was calm, but Chioya was so scared that her face turned pale. Waves of silver light flashed around the two of them. Chioya felt like she was in a trance. The scenery around her completely changed, and she arrived at an extremely unfamiliar place. Lord Qin Feng, where are we? What happened to us just now? When Qin Feng subdued Chioya on the island, he pulled her into the system's Heroes Alliance and explained a little, but Chioya was still confused. After all, Chioya had only been with Qin Feng for less than a week. However, the longer she stayed with Qin Feng, the more she realized how powerful Qin Feng was. It was no wonder that he could kill the 6 great ninjas of Japan on his own. Just his ability to travel through time and space was enough to leave Chioya in the dust. Even if the other 6 great ninjas were still alive, they would not be able to do this. Chioya thought back to how she had wanted to assassinate Qin Feng and felt it was funny. However, when she thought about it, she felt a strange warmth in her heart when she realized that she was obediently following Qin Feng. Alliance leader Qin, you're back. As soon as Qin Feng arrived outside Hero City, a group of martial arts heroes gathered around him. Not long ago, Qin Feng had led everyone to a great battle on the island. That battle had made these martial arts heroes blood boil. They couldn't wait to fight a few more times with Qin Feng. This time, Qin Feng had come to look for Zhao Lingxian. He hurriedly greeted everyone and brought Chioya into the Celestial Ascension Cave. Su Ruoro, Xiao Li, and the 1,000 Illusion Child were all there. When Qin Feng was not around, the 3 women cultivated day and night. They wanted to become more powerful so that they could help Qin Feng in the future. Qin Feng, why are you here all of a sudden? Xiao Li greets Master. Yo, old sweetheart, you never change. Every time you come back, you bring a new woman. This time it's a Japanese girl. When the 3 women saw Qin Feng, they immediately stopped cultivating and surrounded him excitedly. They had just returned from the island and knew that Qin Feng had gone to Acropolis City. They didn't expect him to come back so suddenly. Qin Feng hugged Su Ruoro and kissed her for a while. Then he looked at the 1,000 Illusion Child and said, come with me. Ruoro, Xiao Li, this is Chioya. Show Chioya around. Su Ruoro and Xiao Li were stunned when Qin Feng left the 1,000 Illusion Child alone. The 2 women looked at Qin Feng strangely. Clearly, they thought he left the 1,000 Illusion Child alone for that. Did he fall in love with the old woman recently? Su Ruoro and Xiao Li left obediently. Chioya looked at Qin Feng reluctantly and obeyed his order. Only Qin Feng and Xiao Li were left in the Immortal Ascension Cave. Even the 1,000 Illusion Child was pleasantly surprised. She suddenly threw herself into Qin Feng's arms and groped around his collar. 1,000 Illusion Child, what are you doing? Qin Feng was stunned. He looked at her sternly and asked. The 1,000 Illusion Child smiled charmingly and pounded Qin Feng's chest. You damn brat, you already know my cards. Why are you still pretending to be confused? As she spoke, the 1,000 Illusion Child moved her jade-like hand and grabbed Qin Feng's thigh. Qin Feng's body tensed up. He finally understood the old woman's intention and was speechless. I have serious business to discuss with you. You better behave yourself. Qin Feng's imposing aura confused the 1,000 Illusion Child. Could it be that this guy had changed today? What business? Look at this place. Is this the area around Ice Lake Mountain? Qin Feng placed the sky occupying Spirit Stone on the ground. With a thought, the image he had saved appeared again. The 1,000 Illusion Child realized that Qin Feng was here for business. Her expression became serious. She stared at the Spirit Stone for a while and said firmly, this is the forest north of Ice Lake Mountain's North Mountain. My old friend, What's going on? Qin Feng had guessed that the sky-occupying spirit stone was in the area around Ice Lake Mountain. Now that he had confirmation from the Thousand Illusion Child, he was extremely excited. Come with me to this place. The entrance to the Thousand Shadows sect might be nearby. One of my girlfriends was taken away. Qin Feng told her about Zhao Ling Xian and analyzed his guess to the Thousand Illusion Child. That can't be. I've been in Ice Lake Mountain for dozens of years. I've never heard of any other sects nearby, let alone the Extinction Sect. Qin Feng had recently mobilized the entire martial arts world to search for his mother. The Thousand Illusion Child naturally knew about this. Qin Feng had some doubts, but the sky-occupying spirit stone could not be wrong. He said, "Let's go and take a look first." It said that the Extinction Sect disciples only come out of seclusion once every 10 or even dozens of years. Maybe no Thousand Shadow Sect disciples came out of seclusion while you were in Ice Lake Mountain. Maybe they came out recently. Okay, then let's go now. The Thousand Illusion Child treated Qin Feng's business as her own. She got up anxiously and was ready to go. Qin Feng opened the space-time door. In a trance, the cave around them turned into a forest. The Thousand Illusion Child screamed in fear. Qin Feng, where is this? Qin Feng was amused by the old woman's girlish behavior. He slapped her butt and said, "Are you stupid? This is your Ice Lake Mountain base." The Thousand Illusion Child felt a numbness in her body. She calmed down immediately. She looked up and saw a majestic city gate in front of her. The words Ice Lake Mountain were carved on the city gate. Since Qin Feng dominated the martial arts world, he ordered the inner hidden sects to remove the invisibility formation. Now, there was no distinction between the outer hidden sects and the inner hidden sects in the martial arts world. Is this really Ice Lake Mountain? But aren't we in the Immortal Ascension Cave? Why are we here all of a sudden? The Thousand Illusion Child was confused again. She felt that her brain was not enough. The hero city of the martial arts world was hundreds of kilometers away from Ice Lake Mountain. Even if they flew here, it would not be so fast. Is Alliance leader Qin here? Before Qin Feng could explain, a group of fairy-like female disciples in white clothes rushed over. When the girls saw Qin Feng, their faces turned pale. They still remember the scene where Qin Feng bullied Ice Lake Mountain. "Greetings, Alliance leader Qin. Greetings, Elder Qian Huan." After confirming that it was Qin Feng, the disciples of Ice Lake Mountain knelt on one knee to greet the two. Soon, a white shadow flashed in the sky and arrived outside the city gate in a few breaths. Qian Ming greets Alliance leader Qin. Even the leaders of the inner hidden sects bowed to Qin Feng. But when everyone saw this scene, they felt that it was only natural. Qin Feng's power had already convinced all the big sects in the martial arts world. With his own power, he defeated the Starlight Sect, defeated all the big sects in the inner hidden sects, killed the unpopular sect leader Zhuhan, who was at stage 2 of Qi cultivation, defeated sect leader Qian Sui, sect leader Jing Xin, and Master Yun Lazy. Since then, his status was unshakable. "All right, I'm here for an important matter. There's no need for these formalities." Qin Feng waved his hand. Ice Lake Mountain sect leader Qian Ming and the disciples dared to stand up. Qian Ming asked immediately, "What can Alliance leader Qin do for Ice Lake Mountain?" Ice Lake Mountain's hundreds of disciples are willing to help. As Ice Lake Mountain sect leader, you've been guarding this place for nearly 30 years. Have you seen any other sects being built nearby? Qin Feng went straight to the point. Ice Lake Mountain's disciples all had expressions of denial. They had been in the sect for more than 10 years, and some even longer. They knew that apart from Ice Lake Mountain, there weren't any other sects being built nearby. Alliance leader Qin, there definitely aren't any other sects nearby. Before Alliance leader Qin took the position, Ice Lake Mountain was one of the inner hidden 5 hegemons and did things in a domineering manner. This area has the advantage of geography and dense spiritual energy. If other sects came here to build a city, I naturally wouldn't allow it. Sect leader Qian Ming said whatever he wanted to say. There was no need to hide anything from Qin Feng. Qin Feng was astonished. This meant that the trail was going to be broken again. However, the Sky Divination Spirit Stone clearly showed that Zhao Lingxian had been to this area and had disappeared near Ice Lake Mountain. How could this be explained? Did any of you see any outer sect disciples passing by a few days ago? Qin Feng hurriedly asked. Sect leader Qian Ming cultivated painstakingly and usually didn't leave his room, so he didn't know. Chapter 1282. Qin Feng's expression changed, and many questions appeared in his heart. The group that the female disciple was talking about was evidently not the group of Taoist nuns that had taken Zhao Lingxian away. However, that group of people was quite suspicious. Qin Feng asked, "Are you sure you don't know those people? You should be able to tell what sect they're wearing, right?" No matter how big or small a sect was, they all had their own special clothing, which had the sect's insignia. For example, the Flame Sect disciples' clothing had a burning flame on the chest area. The Ice Lake Mountain female disciple tried to recall, then pouted and shook her head as she said, "I've been in the outer martial arts world for over 10 years, and I know all of the famous disciples of the big sections. I also know their clothing very well. However, this is the first time I've seen the clothing of those people who came down from the South Mountain. There were all sorts of strange birds and beasts drawn on their clothes, and they're not from the outer martial arts world." The female disciple's words caused everyone to look shocked. If they weren't from the outer martial arts world, could it be that people from the secular world had snuck in? However, this idea was quickly denied by everyone. Ice Lake Mountain was located in the depths of the outer martial arts world. Even if a martial artist from the secular world or an ordinary person accidentally entered the outer martial arts world, they would be discovered by the outer hidden sects and chased away by the outer hidden sect disciples. How could they possibly come to the area around Ice Lake Mountain? Alliance Master Qin, who are you looking for? Is it the group of people that my disciple was talking about? The Thousand Lives sect master's expression became serious. Qin Feng shook his head and said, "It's not that group of people. I'm looking for a group of female Taoist nuns and this woman. She's my friend. Haven't you seen her?" Qin Feng took out a photo of Zhao Lingxian. The Ice Lake Mountain disciples all looked at it seriously, but after a moment they all shook their heads. None of the 100 or so Ice Lake Mountain disciples had seen Zhao Lingxian. Qin Feng felt quite depressed. Could it be that Zhao Lingxian and those Taoist nuns had disappeared in a thin air? "What's your name?" Qin Feng suddenly asked the female disciple who had seen the strange group of people. Reply Alliance Master Qin, "My name is Meng Dai." The female disciple was so scared that she trembled and didn't dare to look Qin Feng in the eye. Qin Feng's voice became gentler as he said, "Meng Dai, don't be afraid. Now, take us to where you saw the strange group of people." Qin Feng left with Meng Dai, leaving Ice Lake Mountain's Thousand Lives sect leader and the disciples at a loss. This area was Ice Lake Mountain's territory. It had an advantageous location and abundant spiritual qi. Ice Lake Mountain was divided into 4 mountains: east, west, south, and north. Ice Lake Mountain's base was in the center of the 4 mountains. Ordinary people would not be able to find this place. Even if they could, Ice Lake Mountain had a concealment formation. With Meng Dai leading the way, the 3 of them arrived at the South Mountain area. Meng Dai nervously looked at Qin Feng and said, "Alliance Master Qin, we saw those strange people here. There were a total of 8 of them, and they all wore white robes with pictures of birds and beasts drawn on them. It wasn't the uniform of a martial arts sect. I don't know who they were." Qin Feng immediately circled around, but he didn't find anything wrong. He even suspected that there was a concealment formation nearby, but he couldn't find it at all. "Did those people see you? You didn't say anything?" Qin Feng circled around and returned to Meng Dai's side. Meng Dai was like a child who had done something wrong. She lowered her head and nervously said, "I'm sorry, Alliance Master Qin. I was practicing my sword on the South Mountain and didn't think much of it when I saw those people. They probably saw me, but they ignored me." Seeing Meng Dai tremble in fear, Qin Feng was speechless. Was he really that scary? "I know. I'm not blaming you. Let's go to the North Mountain and have a look." Meng Dai let out a long sigh of relief. She gathered her courage and said to Qin Feng, "Okay, I'll take Alliance Master Qin and Elder Qian Huan there." The North Mountain was the area that Qin Feng had seen with the Sky Divination Spirit Stone. It was not much different from the South Mountain, and the scenery and environment were similar. Qin Feng circled the entire mountain, but he still couldn't find anything. That's strange. Could it be that those Taoist nuns really took Zhao Ling Xian and transmigrated? Otherwise, how could they just disappear? Qin Feng was very confused. He wasn't surprised about transmigrating because the spatial door could take him. However, if those Taoist nuns could really transmigrate, why would they go to such a far place like Ice Lake Mountain? Couldn't they have just transmigrated back to the mortal world? Qin Feng, did you find any clues? Qian Huan Child asked with concern. Qin Feng shook his head and didn't say much. However, everyone understood. Meng Dai started to feel nervous again, as if it was her fault for not finding any clues. They searched the South Mountain and the North Mountain, but they didn't find anything. Qin Feng wasn't willing to give up, so he searched the West Mountain and the East Mountain, but the result was the same. Looks like the method isn't right. What's wrong? Qin Feng stood at the top of the mountain and calmed his mind to reorganize the information and clues he had. Qian Huan Child and Meng Dai quietly stood to the side. No one dared to disturb Qin Feng's thoughts. After thinking for a while, he still couldn't figure out. Then, Lin Bei Bei's voice came from the Heroes Alliance. Qin Feng, are you there? Qin Feng hurriedly replied. What's wrong, Bei Bei? Don't worry. Tell me slowly. Sob. Sure is missing too. I think she went to the demon city in Sichuan. Lin Bei Bei choked with sobs. Qin Feng was surprised. Why did Xiao sure go to the demon city in Sichuan? Back then, he brought Dongfang Qin Shui to the demon city to participate in the martial arts circle convention. Later, he found out that the Verdant Sect's main base was in Sichuan. The population in that area was complicated, and it was a place that martial artists often came and went. Because the demon city was abandoned, and there were rumors that it was haunted, very few ordinary people went there. Now, it gradually became a large market where martial artists gathered and traded. There were often elixir fairs, magic weapon fairs, and spirit weapon fairs there. Sure went alone? How long has she been gone? What did she do? Qin Feng threw out a few questions. Lin Bei Bei cried even louder. Sob, I don't know. When I mobilized my sisters to search for Sister Ling Xian, I discovered that Sure had also disappeared. She didn't appear in Hero City 3 days ago. She should have left alone. Sure has always been a loner. Qin Feng's heart was about to break when he heard Lin Bei Bei's crying. He immediately said, Okay, I got it. Don't cry. I'll go find you now. Sob, you should focus on your own matters first. You just rushed to Hero City in the outer martial world, right? Don't worry about me. I'll be fine in a while. Lin Bei Bei thought Qin Feng would rush back to Acropolis City. It would take another day to go back and forth, and she didn't want to delay Qin Feng's business. However, when she turned off the Hero Alliance's communication function, she saw a flash of silver light on the ceiling. It was so bright that she couldn't open her eyes. Qin Feng? Is it really you? Why are you back so soon? Lin Bei Bei felt like she was dreaming when she saw Qin Feng suddenly sitting beside her bed. Of course, Qin Feng used the space-time door to come back. Before he came, he told the 1,000 Illusion Child to stay in Ice Lake Mountain and investigate the whereabouts of those strange people and Zhao Ling Xian. Lin Bei Bei's pretty little face was still wet with tears. She looked lovely and lovely. Qin Feng pulled her into his arms and dotingly patted her head. I heard you cry, so I rushed back. Don't worry, Zhao Ling Xian and Xiao sure will be fine. I'll bring them back. Lin Bei Bei's little face was flushed with excitement. She hugged Qin Feng's neck tightly and refused to let go. Qin Feng smelled her delicate scent and suddenly flipped over to put her on the bed. The battle lasted for a long time. Qin Feng touched Lin Bei Bei's soft and white skin reluctantly. Lin Bei Bei's emotions had calmed down, and she looked at Qin Feng tenderly. Bei Bei, be good and wait for me in Hero City. I'm going to Demon City in Central River and see what Sure is doing there. Qin Feng saw that it was getting late, so he prepared to leave. Lin Bei hugged Qin Feng's arm reluctantly and said, I want to go too. Qin Feng chuckled and patted her head. He said, you should focus on cultivating in Hero City. When you're stronger, I'll take you out. The two of them cuddled for a while. Then, Qin Feng put on his clothes and left. There was a flash of silver light. Under Lin Bei's shocked gaze, Qin Feng disappeared into thin air, as miraculously as he appeared out of thin air. To avoid attracting attention, Qin Feng chose to land on a barren hill outside of Demon City. The sun was setting, and Demon City was shrouded in a blood-red hue. It looked somewhat eerie and terrifying. Demon City was originally a residential area of villas and mansions invested by a local developer. However, ghosts appeared in the middle of the construction. Later, the developer and the workers were all scared away, and the construction stopped halfway. It became a wasteland. Normally, no one dared to come here. However, at this time, many martial artists dressed in simple and unadorned clothes came and went. It was a lively scene. Qin Feng thought for a while and finally changed his original appearance to that of Zheng Shuai. He felt that something big had happened in Demon City recently, so he decided to investigate in secret. After putting on the 100 Transformations mask, Qin Feng looked in the mirror. He hadn't used this ordinary and slightly ugly face for a long time, so he missed it. Qin Feng couldn't help but think of his celebrity life in the capital and Hong Kong with the pretty girls group and Ma Xian. It was comfortable and ambiguous. Those carefree days would probably be rare in the future. Fuck, you're hiding here pretending to be a ghost to scare people? You almost scare me to death. I'm so fucking unlucky. I've just arrived at Demon City, and I already see such an ugly man. He looks like a ghost. Just as Qin Feng was reminiscing about his time as a celebrity, he suddenly heard a grumble. 5 men wearing the same gray robes happened to pass by. They probably hadn't noticed Qin Feng and were startled when they saw him. Qin Feng casually swept his eyes over them. These 5 were disciples of the Carefree sect. With Qin Feng's current status, the Carefree sect leader didn't even have the right to carry his shoes. Chapter 1283. There were a total of 5 people from the Carefree sect. The leader was a burly man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. The 5 people were shocked by Qin Feng's sudden appearance. How could they be in a good mood? The leader shouted at him, Brat, you scared us. Tell me, what should we do? Qin Feng's mouth twitched. He almost slapped these brats to death. But when he thought of his handsome appearance, Qin Feng was a little scared. Oh, then what do you want to do? Qin Feng looked at them with interest. Before the brawny leader could speak, a monkey-like kid behind him jumped out and yelled at Qin Feng. Brat, we're the eldest disciples of the Carefree sect. We're very powerful. If you're smart, hand over all your treasures, and we'll let you go. Qin Feng was almost amused. He just stood there and did nothing. Did I offend you? Is it a sin to be ugly? My junior brother is right. Hand over all your treasures. I'm the eldest senior brother of the Carefree sect, Sun Fei. You should have heard of me. The burly man stared at Qin Feng with a silly look. Qin Feng shook his head and smiled. Never heard of you. The Carefree sect is just a small sect. I don't even care about your sect leader. What Qin Feng said was the truth. With his current identity, the Carefree sect was just an ant-like existence. But the 5 disciples of the Carefree sect were enraged. They thought Qin Feng was bragging. Sun Fei jumped up and shouted, Hey, you are ugly and arrogant. Today, I will teach you how to be a man. Boom! Sun Fei roared and punched. His fist brought up a gust of wind like a fierce tiger coming down the mountain. Qin Feng was very angry. What does being ugly have to do with you? He moved his mind, and a cosmic flying sword appeared in front of Sun Fei. He was so scared that he stopped immediately. What is this? Sun Fei's eyes widened, and he looked incredulous. The remaining 4 disciples were also dumbfounded. The Monkey Chi disciple suddenly exclaimed, flying sword. Eldest senior brother, it's a flying sword. You have good eyesight. This is a flying sword. I will show you its power. Whoosh. Just as Qin Feng finished speaking, a pink light flashed. Before the others could react, they felt some warm liquid on their necks and faces. The four of them instinctively reached out to touch it, and were instantly scared half to death. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, and master have been. Pui. Second senior brother has been killed. Yes, it's a flying sword. That person used a flying sword to kill second senior brother. The atmosphere immediately fell into a deathly silence. The four disciples of the carefree sect stared at Qin Feng in terror. They were so frightened that their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Whoosh! The sword hummed again, and the four of them immediately cried out. They thought that their heads would fall to the ground in the next second, but there was no movement for a long time. The cosmic flying sword hovered in midair, and Qin Feng's indifferent voice sounded. You guys want to snatch my treasure? If you like this flying sword, then take it. I'm afraid you don't have the ability. The fact that Qin Feng killed a stage 7 inner chi expert with a single thought had already shocked Sun Fei and the other three. How would they dare to do anything to Qin Feng? They could only hope that Qin Feng would spare their lives. Thump! The four of them knelt in front of Qin Feng at the same time. Sun Fei's voice trembled as he spoke. Why, hero? We have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive us, senior hero. Qin Feng didn't come to Devil City to kill people. He also didn't want to argue with Sun Fei and the other rookies. He waved his hand, and the flying sword returned to the system. He said coldly, Now can you answer my first question? Why did you come to Devil City in the evening? Sun Fei and the others didn't dare to get up. They knelt on the ground and said, Reporting to Hero, we are here to choose him out. Qin Feng was startled. Choose him out? Tell me more details. Sun Fei cautiously looked at Qin Feng. He looked serious and didn't look like he was joking. This made Sun Fei and the others suspicious. Could it be that the hero in front of them really didn't know about the recent big movements in Devil City? He was so powerful, but the news was so hidden. Senior Hero, a spirit beast merchant group, came to Devil City a few days ago. They're selling a large number of mounts here. These mounts are at least wild beasts. There are also ferocious beasts, demonic beasts, magical beasts, and spirit beasts. Once the news spread, the outer martial artists all came here to buy mounts and battle pets. Qin Feng had been busy with the Battle of the Living Island recently. He had also pulled the elites of the outer martial artists Hero City to fight on the island. No one really paid much attention to the martial artists' affairs. Who would have thought that there would be people selling spirit beasts and battle pets here? Ever since he got the Hedonist sovereign system, Qin Feng had also fused several battle pets. Black Tortoise had now become the overlord of the sea. Glacier Snow Mastiff and Flaming Golden Eagle had all awakened their respective skills. Now, they were comparable to martial artists in the first stage of True Chi Realm. However, Pikachu was still the same. Qin Feng even suspected that this little guy was a battle pet that he fused. Qin Feng also had a flaming dragon horse, which was his real mount. After having these battle pets, his strength became even more powerful. When he swept through the Demon Holy Land, the elders and sect leaders of the large demon sects also had their own ferocious beast mounts and battle pets. On the other hand, the orthodox martial artists of the outer martial artists rarely fought on mounts and battle pets. In the past, there were no resources. Now that there was a merchant group selling such items in Devil City, it naturally attracted the disciples of the outer martial artists to come and fight. After understanding the situation in Devil City, Qin Feng continued to ask, How long has this spirit beast merchant group been here? Sun Fei hurriedly said, I don't know exactly when the merchant group came, but the news of battle pets and mounts being sold in Devil City has spread for 5 days. They came at least 5 days ago. Qin Feng calculated the time. At that time, he was leading the elites of the outer martial artists to fight on the island. Moreover, according to Lin Bei, Zhao Lingxian also left with the nun at that time. Also, the female disciple of Ice Lake Mountain, Ming Dai, also saw those strange people a few days ago. All these things happened at the same time. It would be a stretch to say that it was a coincidence, But what was the connection between all these things? Qin Feng couldn't figure out for a while. Okay, you guys lead the way. I want to see the battle pets and mounts that the merchant group is selling. Qin Feng didn't think too much about it. He would know once he went to Devil City. Sun Fei was already carefully leading the way in front. He said with some difficulty, "Great Hero Senior, I heard that the spiritual beast merchant group in Devil City only opens for business during the day. Normally, they will stop selling afternoon. It's already evening now. We definitely won't be able to see them." They talked as they walked, and soon they arrived at Devil City. Just as Sun Fei said, there were no people from the spirit beast merchant group in the city. Instead, there were groups of martial artists coming and going. Some of them were accompanied by ferocious beasts, and some were even riding on ferocious beasts. There are indeed wild beasts for sale, but these are only low-level wild beasts. They're too weak compared to magical beasts and spirit beasts. Qin Feng stood at the city gate and looked around, mumbling to himself. He had entered Devil Beast Mountain more than 10 times, so he had a good understanding of magical beasts and spirit beasts. The three-eyed elephant boar that he encountered when he first entered Devil Beast Mountain was the lowest level wild beast. The flame wolf and berserk black demonic bear that he killed later were the real magical beasts. As for the white-furred demonic ape, it was a high-level magical beast. However, Qin Feng didn't see any real spirit beasts in Devil Beast Mountain. He guessed that there were spirit beasts in the deeper regions of Devil Beast Mountain, but he had never stepped into that region. Even the glacial snow mastiff and flaming golden condor seemed to be afraid of the spirit beasts. Great hero, I'm not wrong, right? The spirit beast merchant group is not open for business at night. If there's nothing else, we'll take our leave first. Sun Fei looked like he was in a hurry to leave. He felt pressured staying by Qin Feng's side. Qin Feng hit his flying sword and killed a stage 7 inner chi expert in the blink of an eye. He must be a powerful being. That was why Sun Fei and the other 3 didn't dare to stay by his side. Qin Feng was no stranger to Devil City. He subdued Xiao Li and killed the ghastly evil king here. You guys can leave. Qin Feng didn't make things difficult for Sun Fei and the other 3. He turned around and entered the Sichuan restaurant. This was the only restaurant in Devil City that was open for business. The rooms were always overcrowded. If one wanted to book a room here, they had to rely on their fists. Money alone was useless. "Boss, give me a superior suite." Qin Feng threw a stack of red notes on the counter. The owner of the restaurant was the same old man that Qin Feng met last time. The old man glanced at the cash, and his expression didn't change at all. Before he could say anything, a group of strong men in black robes walked in. They laughed at Qin Feng and said, "Ha, where did you come from, brat? You came to Sichuan restaurant with cash to book a superior suite? Is there something wrong with your head?" Qin Feng glanced at the group. There were a total of 6 strong men wearing the uniform of the Divine Dragon sect. Previously, Qin Feng had brutally oppressed the successor of the Divine Dragon sect, Zhang Jin. Now, a group of disciples came to him and clamored. Qin Feng found it funny. "Manager Tong, here are 10 mid-grade spirit stones. Give us a bigger room." "Chun," she said. The man in the lead of the Divine Dragon sect was called Zhang Fei. He looked to be in his early 40s and was a great elder of the Divine Dragon sect. This was the difference between a small sect and a big sect in the outer martial arts world. For example, the 5 sects of Huaxia had the qualifications to be a great elder at least 60 years old. Their strength was in the ranks of stage 9 inner chi. However, Zhang Fei was merely at stage 8 inner chi. He became the great elder of the Divine Dragon sect when he was in his early 40s. When Manager Tong saw the spirit stones, his old eyes sparkled. He was a completely different person from when he saw Qin Feng take out the cash. However, those who could come to Sichuan Devil City were all strong people. Manager Tong couldn't afford to offend anyone. He smiled and said, "2 heroes, there's only 1 empty room left in the restaurant. Do you want to discuss who should we give this room to?" Bang! Without waiting for Qin Feng to speak, the great elder of the Divine Dragon sect, Zhang Fei, slammed the counter and glared at Qin Feng fiercely. He shouted, Brat, if you know what's good for you, hurry up and scram. This devil city isn't a place for trash like you. How arrogant was Zhang Fei? Chapter 1284. Manager Tong was trembling in fear, but he didn't dare to step forward to persuade him. Qin Feng looked indifferent, as if he didn't hear Zhang Fei's threat. Brat, are you fucking deaf? I'm talking to you. Are you leaving or not? Zhang Fei started to act ruthlessly again. Before Qin Feng could make a move, another group of people came in. It was Sun Fei's group that ran away not long ago. Senior hero, you're also staying in the hotel. Sun Fei was depressed the moment he entered the room. He finally got rid of Qin Feng, but he bumped into him again. Most importantly, Qin Feng seemed to have a conflict with the people from Divine Dragon Sect. Sun Fei didn't know whether to leave or stay. Sun Fei, you know this guy? Zhang Fei recognized Sun Fei and asked with a cold face. Sun Fei couldn't escape anymore, so he pretended to be calm and said, "This is our senior hero. What do you want?" Divine Dragon Sect and Carefree Sect were both small sects in the outer martial arts world, and they were equally powerful. Usually, the disciples of the two sects didn't like each other and felt that they were superior. Huh, how can you call this idiot senior hero? Have you lost your mind? Or is Carefree Sect going to be destroyed? Zhang Fei sneered and stared at Sun Fei. Sun Fei didn't want to get involved in this matter, but he was angered by Zhang Fei's words. Zhang, how dare you slander the prestige of Carefree Sect? If my Carefree Taoist hears this, you might lose your life. When Zhang Fei heard Carefree Taoist's name, his heart skipped a beat, but he pretended to be calm and shouted, "Humph! What's wrong with Carefree Taoist? Our Divine Dragon Sect also has sect leader Zhang Long. Are we afraid of your Carefree Sect?" Zhang Fei, watch out for my sword. Most of the people in the martial arts world were rash, and they would fight with just a few words. Sun Fei suddenly stabbed out with his sword, but Zhang Fei was prepared. He punched out with both fists, and the air was filled with wind. When the sword stabbed into Zhang Fei's fists, there was a loud sound of metal clashing. Rumble. With the dull sound, Zhang Fei and Sun Fei both took 3 steps back. The disciples on both sides immediately got into formation and started shouting at each other. The Divine Dragon Sect is nothing. Today, I'll show you the might of the Carefree Sect. Cut the crap. This great me can crush all of you with one Divine Dragon Fist. Rumble. For a moment, the hall was filled with the cries of swords and gusts of fists. Both sides had about the same number of people, and their strengths were also about the same. The scene looked incomparably intense, scaring Manager Tong until he repeatedly tried to dissuade them. But no one listened to his words. Qin Feng stood to the side as if nothing had happened. He was disinclined to look at these people fighting like children playing house. Shopkeeper Tong, right? Give me that empty room. Manager Tong was so angry that his face darkened. This fight started because of Qin Feng, yet this person still had the mind to get a room? There's no room left. Hurry and leave. Manager Tong looked at Qin Feng as if he was looking at a pestilence god. Qin Feng was instantly displeased. You just said there was an empty room, and now you're saying there's no more? Are you stirring up trouble? Qin Feng's expression turned cold, and his body emitted waves of powerful aura. Manager Tong felt an indescribable pressure assault him. He immediately withdrew his icy expression and said with a calm tone, "This little brother, there really are no more rooms. I remembered wrongly. The remaining room is reserved internally. No one else can stay in it. Oh, who is so arrogant to even reserve a room here internally?" Qin Feng had a cold smile on his face. A strange smile flashed across Manager Tong's eyes. He suddenly had confidence as he raised his voice and said, "The only suite on the top floor is still empty. That's the suite specially reserved for the Alliance Master of the pugilistic world, Qin Feng. The room card is here. If you have the guts, just go and stay there." Currently, Qin Feng's name resounded throughout the entire pugilistic world. That powerful prestige was unshakable by anyone in the pugilistic world. Previously, there were also many arrogant disciples who ran over to get a room. Every time Manager Tong used this move, those disciples would immediately be frightened into running away with their tails between their legs. Even if the room card for the top floor suite was placed on the counter, no one dared to take it. It's this room card, right? Then I won't be courteous. Manager Tong was currently looking at Qin Feng from the corner of his eyes arrogantly, waiting to see him run away in fright. However, he saw Qin Feng pick up the room card and walk towards the elevator with an attitude of not putting the alliance master of the pugilistic world in his eyes. Why you really have the guts to go? Why quickly come back? That's alliance master Qin's. Whoosh! Before Manager Tong could finish speaking, a few subtle sounds of wind being torn resounded in the air. A few sparks flickered among the people who were fighting fiercely in the Great Hall. In the next second, several people from the Divine Dragon sect suddenly fell to the ground and couldn't get up. Fresh blood gushed out and dyed the entire Great Hall's floor the color of blood. Sun Fei and the others were abruptly stupefied. They had an expression as if they had seen a living ghost. Manager Tong forcefully swallowed the second half of his sentence. His old eyes were filled with terror, and he didn't dare to say another word of nonsense to Qin Feng. Qin Feng had already walked into the elevator and went upstairs. The Great Hall was still immersed in a strange atmosphere. The carefree sect disciples were unable to return to their senses. Manager Tong looked at the fresh blood that flowed to his feet. He could no longer support his body and sat on the ground. Fuck, there's a fight here? Isn't it just a fight? What's there to make a fuss about? Carefree sect and Divine Dragon sect actually fought, and Carefree sect obtained a complete victory. The strength of these two sects is on par. Demon City was a gathering of martial artists. Usually, there were countless conflicts and fights. Everyone had seen it before. However, the fact that the Carefree sect disciples could kill all the people from the Divine Dragon sect surprised everyone. Sun Fei and the others finally came to their senses. Each and every one of them revealed a bewildered expression. They didn't kill the people from the Divine Dragon sect. Sun Fei still didn't know what happened until now. Manager Tong, are there any vacant rooms? Sun Fei couldn't care so much. He planned to settle the accommodation first. If there were no more rooms in the Sichuan restaurant, he could only make do with the unfinished villa for the night. Why, heroes? Why there's still a vacant room? You can stay there. When Manager Tong saw Sun Fei and the others, it was as if he had seen demons. He was so scared that he shivered. Sun Fei was astonished again. With their carefree sect strength, they couldn't establish a foothold in Demon City. In the past, they came to Sun Fei several times and couldn't get a room. He didn't expect it to be so smooth tonight. Then, thank you, Manager Tong. Sun Fei quickly cupped his hands and said, You don't need to thank me. Your senior hero went to the top floor suite. You can look for him. No wonder Manager Tong was so afraid of Sun Fei and the others. It turned out that he was intimidated by Qin Feng's might. Sun Fei and the others called Qin Feng senior hero. The fight just now also seemed to be helping Qin Feng. This made Manager Tong think that they were on the same side. Naturally, he didn't dare to slight Sun Fei and the others. Sun Fei suddenly came to his senses. He finally understood who killed Zhang Fei and the others. Killing people invisibly. Only senior hero's flying sword could do that. Qin Feng entered the suite and walked one round in the room. He was quite satisfied with the environment here. Just as he rested on the sofa for a while, the doorbell rang. Senior hero, thank you for your help just now. The door opened. Sun Fei stood alone outside the door with a fawning smile on his face. Qin Feng calmly walked back to the sofa and sat down. He only helped to teach Zhang Fei and the others a lesson for their arrogance. He didn't deliberately help the carefree sect disciples. Sun Fei cautiously entered the room. He didn't dare to sit down. He stood to the side and said, Senior hero, you are so powerful. You must be famous in the martial arts world. Little brother's knowledge is too low. I still don't know the name of senior hero. Qin Feng's face turned cold. He said in a deep voice, Don't ask what you shouldn't. Be careful, or you'll lose your head. Sun Fei was so scared that he almost fell. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and quickly said, Senior hero is right. I spoke too much. Qin Feng raised his head and glanced at the trembling Sun Fei. He said, "Help me find someone. Senior hero, please speak." Little brother Sun Fei will definitely do his best to find her. Qin Feng's main purpose in coming to Demon City was to find Xiao Shi. He didn't see Xiao Shi on the way here or in the hotel. This made him somewhat anxious. "This is my girlfriend. She's also in Demon City. Have you seen her?" Qin Feng found Xiao Shi's photo on his phone. The girl was wearing a long white dress. She stood gracefully in the sun. It was as if she was isolated from the world. Sun Fei was shocked by Xiao Shi's pure and refined beauty. He couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. When he came back to his senses, he was scared half to death. He quickly said, "Senior hero, I didn't see sister-in-law on the way here. Demon City has a large population. There are many martial arts people coming and going every day. It will take some time to find her. There's a martial arts gathering tonight. I'll go to the gathering and help you look for her." Qin Feng's expression changed slightly. "Martial arts gathering?" Sun Fei quickly said, "It's a gathering organized by martial arts people. Many disciples from different sects participate in it. They exchange martial arts. Some go to pick up girls and show off." Qin Feng had no interest in this kind of gathering. When he was still a hedonistic young master, he attended this kind of gathering every night to pick up girls and show off. After a moment of silence, Qin Feng said, "When does the gathering start? I'll go with you to have a look." Qin Feng thought he might run into Xiao Shi at the gathering. Sun Fei looked at his watch and said, The gathering has already started. Senior hero, let me bring you there." Qin Feng followed Sun Fei and left. It turned out that there was an underground entertainment center in the basement of this Chuanzhong restaurant. When the two of them entered, the dim yellow light inside was ambiguous and noisy. It felt like they had entered a nightclub. These martial arts people really know how to enjoy themselves. Qin Feng looked around and saw many scantily dressed beauties shuttling through the crowd. Sun Fei's face turned red. He said awkwardly, "Martial arts people are also human. Some physiological needs have to be satisfied." Chapter 1285. There were too many people in the underground hall. Qin Feng didn't see Xiao Shi for a while, so he ordered a glass of red wine and found a seat. "Senior hero, look over there. That's the free arena. You can bet on it." Sun Fei explained to Qin Feng as he knew the place well. "You want me to fight in the arena?" Qin Feng was stunned. Sun Fei was so scared that he was trembling. He quickly said, "Sir Hero, you misunderstood me. I was just saying it casually. The people who go to the free arena are all martial artists. If they lose, they have to pay some spiritual stones, spiritual energy, or even martial arts manuals as a wager. I've always wanted to give it a try, but my martial arts skills are not good enough. If I were as good as you, I would definitely win a lot of cultivation resources." Sun Fei did want Qin Feng to fight in the arena because he thought it was a great opportunity for Qin Feng. With Qin Feng's powerful skills, not many people in the hall could be his match. But Qin Feng wasn't interested in spirit stones, spiritual equipment, and martial arts manuals. Compared to the golden divine equipment and supreme martial arts manuals in his system, the cultivation resources of the sects in the outer martial world were nothing to him. "I'm here to look for someone. I'm not interested in anything else." Qin Feng's voice was indifferent. Sun Fei immediately shut his mouth and didn't dare to talk about fighting in the arena anymore. The two of them were searching for Xiao Shi in the crowd. Suddenly, they heard an angry roar. "You two stinking brats. Get out of my way. I'm taking this seat." 5 drunken men staggered toward them. The leader even pushed Qin Feng. Sun Fei was enraged. He pulled out the long sword from his waist and stabbed at them. "Bastard, how dare you be rude to Senior Hero? Let me teach you a lesson." Clang! Sun Fei was a stage 8 inner chi expert. His sword created a strong gust of wind. The drunken man sobered up when he sensed the murderous aura. Just as the sword was about to pierce his throat, the man kicked Sun Fei away like an awakened lion. "Motherfucker, how dare a stage 8 inner chi brat act tough in front of me? Do you know who I am? I'm Shao Qing, the eldest disciple of the Broken Cliff Mountain. Xiao Qing's thunderous roar scared the people around him and made them retreat to the side. The Broken Cliff Mountain was an inner hidden sect, and Xiao Qing was a famous stage 9 inner chi expert in the martial world. Although Qin Feng had removed the distinction between the inner hidden sects and the outer hidden sects after he had dominated the martial arts world, the inner hidden sects had existed for a long time. The power of the inner hidden sect disciples was generally stronger than that of the outer hidden sects. Therefore, in the martial arts world, the inner hidden sect disciples were slightly stronger. Sun Fei fell to the ground and knocked over a table. He endured the pain and got up, but he was no longer as arrogant as before. In front of the inner hidden sects, what was a mere carefree sect worth? Stage, you still dare to sit here, aren't you? Xiao Qing looked at Qin Feng with a playful expression. Behind him stood his 4 companions. The 4 of them had already walked up and surrounded Qin Feng, looking as if they were afraid that he would run away. Even though he was surrounded by 5 experts, Qin Feng still held a glass of red wine and leisurely leaned back in his chair. It was as if Xiao Qing and the others were heir to him. Kowtow and apologize to my little brother, and I'll spare your lives, Qin Feng said indifferently. Xiao Qing and the others were stunned. They stared at each other blankly. Xiao Qing quickly regained his senses. He was so angry that his eyes were spewing fire. He swung his huge iron fist at Qin Feng's head and said, "You ant, I'll kowtow to you swoosh." The moment Qin Feng punched, the crowd went wild. Many people gathered around to watch the show. Sun Fei, on the other hand, was sweating profusely. In the end, he still couldn't figure out Qin Feng's true strength. He was worried that Qin Feng would lose because his opponent had a stage 9 inner chi expert, swoosh. The sound of the wind whistling could be heard, but no one noticed it in this noisy environment. However, several balls of fire appeared out of nowhere and flickered, drawing the crowd's exclamations. Qin Feng had combined the wind blade with the destructive fire not long ago. Now that the fire blade was unleashed, the 5 disciples of the Broken Cliff Mountain collapsed to the ground. Xiao Qing died the worst. His head was separated from his body, and there was a burning smell coming from his neck. It was as if he had been roasted. Ah, murder! There's murder here. It's just a dead body. What's there to be surprised about? Quick, call someone to get the body out of here. What's burnt? It stinks. Which sect does that ugly man belong to? I've never seen him before. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Not only were there martial artists in the underground venue, but there were also many martial artists from the secular world and descendants of powerful families. Martial artists were used to this kind of killing scene, so their expressions didn't change much. However, the rich heirs and young models screamed in fear. Sun Fei was dumbfounded. His eyes were filled with terror. Once again, he witnessed Qin Feng's miraculous killing technique. This time, Qin Feng's technique was even more ferocious and powerful. How could he kill people with just a few balls of fire? He had never heard of any sect in the secular world that had cultivated such a powerful martial art technique. A few security guards rushed to the scene. They were used to the killings in Devil City, so they dragged the bodies of Xiao Qing and the others away. The venue was cleaned up in no time. The crowd dispersed and continued to have fun as if nothing had happened. Sun Fei sat down opposite Qin Feng and looked at him with reverence. Qin Feng continued to drink as if nothing had happened. He looked at the crowd around him, but he still couldn't find Xiao. Sure. Fellow cultivator, our 7 Mountain Monastery's elder senior brother wants to see you. A figure came over and said to Qin Feng. Sun Fei's expression changed drastically. Not long ago, the Broken Cliff Mountain had come to cause trouble, and now the 7 Mountain Monastery was here. The 7 Mountain Monastery was much more powerful than the Broken Cliff Mountain. It used to be one of the second-rate sects in the inner hidden world, and its power was second only to the 5 hidden hegemons. Why does your elder senior brother want to see me? Qin Feng asked indifferently. He thinks that you have good skills and are qualified to be his opponent. He wants to invite you to fight him, the man said. He didn't dare to slight Qin Feng. Qin Feng had just killed Xiao Qing, who was at the middle stage of stage 9 inner chi. His strength had shocked many people in the venue. I'm not interested, Qin Feng said impatiently. The Seven Mountain Monastery's disciple looked troubled. You better come with me. I'm just following orders. Qin Feng was enraged. As the leader of the martial arts world, he wasn't someone who could be challenged by anyone. Qin Feng's expression turned cold. He glared at the Seven Mountain Monastery's disciple and said, Your elder senior brother wants to challenge me, right? Ask him to come here himself. Stop talking nonsense. Otherwise, you won't be able to talk anymore. The Seven Mountain Monastery's disciple wanted to persuade Qin Feng again, but he shut his mouth when he heard Qin Feng's last sentence. He glared at Qin Feng with disdain in his heart. Even though Qin Feng had displayed extraordinary skills, he was nothing in the Seven Mountain Monastery's disciples' eyes. Their elder senior brother was a stage 1 true Qi expert. He could kill Qin Feng in a matter of minutes. The disciple had already left. He complained, You're just a piece of trash. How dare you make our elder senior brother come and find you? You'll be tortured to death. Senior hero, should we leave? Sun Fei asked Qin Feng worriedly after the Seven Mountain Monastery's disciple left. Why should we leave? I haven't seen all the people here yet. Qin Feng didn't care about the Seven Mountain Monastery at all. He continued to look for Qiao, Sure in the crowd. Even the leaders of the hidden 5 hegemons had to bow down to him. How dare a mere elder senior brother from a second-rate sect behave so atrociously? What a joke. Sun Fei didn't know Qin Feng's powerful identity. He was just a stage 8 inner Qi carefree sect disciple. How would he dare to offend a big sect like the Seven Mountain Monastery? Senior hero, that's a second-rate sect. Rumor has it that elder senior brother, Hezhong, has already broken through to stage 1 true Qi. It's better for us to leave. Sun Fei thought Qin Feng didn't know how powerful Hezhong was, so he explained everything to him. However, Qin Feng acted as if he didn't hear anything. He drank his red wine leisurely and said, You can leave if you're afraid. I won't stop you. Sun Fei looked troubled. He was truly afraid of the Seven Mountain Monastery. However, he knew that he would leave a bad impression on Qin Feng if he left alone. In the end, he gritted his teeth and sat on his seat. Forget it. Since senior hero doesn't want to leave, then I'll accompany you. Sun Fei was ready to die. Qin Feng couldn't help but laugh. At this time, a tall and handsome man in white walked over. His face was as cold as ice. He stood beside Qin Feng and said, Brat, I'm giving you face by inviting you to the arena. Do you really think you're someone important? Believe it or not, I can kill you with one slap. The man had a domineering aura, and his voice was as loud as a bell. It pressured Sun Fei so much that he couldn't breathe. Qin Feng glanced at the man and acted as if he didn't see him. The disciple who came to talk to Qin Feng earlier was unhappy. He slammed the table in front of Qin Feng and shouted, Brat, this is our Seven Mountain Monastery senior brother, Hezhong. Why aren't you standing up and greeting him? Qin Feng came to the underground arena to look for Qiao, Sure. He didn't expect to run into so much trouble. He became impatient and said, I'll give you a chance to live. Get out of my sight now. Otherwise, you'll disappear from this world. Qin Feng's words were so domineering that it shocked Sun Fei and the people from the Seven Mountain Monastery. The atmosphere became quiet. After a while, Hezhong threw his head back and laughed hysterically. Ha! This is the funniest joke I've heard this year. You want me to disappear from this world? Do you know what realm I'm in? Hezhong was extremely arrogant. However, a flash later, his smile froze on his face. The disciples of the Seven Mountain Monastery and Sun Fei stared at him in disbelief. A thin line appeared on Hezhong's neck. At first, it looked like he was strangled by a strand of hair. However, the thin line gradually split open. Finally, a pillar of blood spurted out and a muffled explosion sounded. Hezhong, who was at stage 1 true Qi, was beheaded. Eldest senior brother, what's wrong with you? Who killed our senior brother? Show yourself if you have the guts. He's the genius disciple of the Seven Mountain Monastery. He's at stage 1 true Qi. How could he die just like that? How powerful is the person who killed him? Chapter 1286. You must be the one who killed senior brother He. Don't try to deny it. Just admit it. He Zhong's death was too sudden, and Qin Feng's attack was too fast. No one saw what happened, and no one could confirm that Qin Feng was the one who killed He Zhong. The disciple who came to deliver the message glared at Qin Feng. He had been yelling for a long time, but no one had made a move. Even the stage 1 true Qi stage senior brother had died. How could he and the other disciple from the Seven Mountain Monastery dare to fight Qin Feng head-on? Qin Feng said calmly, "Cut the crap. I'm the one who killed your bullshit senior brother. I'm standing right here. If you want revenge, come at me." The disciples of the Seven Mountains Monastery were stunned. They didn't expect Qin Feng to admit to it. This made them extremely depressed. They were in a dilemma. The disciple who delivered the message pretended to be calm and shouted, "Brat, don't think you're so great just because you killed senior brother He. Our Seven Mountain Temple is a hidden sect in the pugilistic world. Our sect leader has already stepped into stage 3 true Qi. If you have the guts, just you wait. We'll go back and report to the sect now. Noisy." This person talked too much. Qin Feng picked his ear and waved his hand. The strange flame appeared again. Before the disciples of Seven Mountain Temple could react, they were already lying in a pool of blood. Whoosh! The crowd exclaimed. This time, not only were the disciples of the big families and ordinary people screaming, but even the disciples of the pugilistic world were shocked. Qin Feng was too powerful. He killed He Zhong, who was at stage 1 true Qi, with a wave of his hand. He was even more arrogant. He didn't even put the Seven Mountain Temple in his eyes. He killed all the disciples who came here with a wave of his hand. The noisy atmosphere in the underground hall became strange. The smell of burnt blood filled the air. Many young models squatted on the ground and vomited. Sun Fei was stunned. He was completely shocked by Qin Feng's strength. He was glad that he wasn't too arrogant and submitted to Qin Feng in time. Otherwise, he would have ended up like the disciples of Seven Mountain Temple. Clap, clap, clap. The silent hall was suddenly filled with applause. Many people finally regained their senses and looked to the side in surprise. A group of men in green robes walked over. The crowd gasped when they saw the handsome young man leading the group. "Damn, that's the genius disciple of Immortal Cloud Sect, Yun Jian. I heard he reached stage 1 true Qi at the age of 30. Immortal Cloud Sect's disciple. That's Immortal Cloud Sect, one of the 5 hidden forces. These people should be here to find that man. Just who is he? He actually drew out so many hidden sections." The appearance of the Seven Mountain Monastery had already shocked everyone. Now that the Immortal Cloud Sect, one of the hidden 5 hegemons, had suddenly sent people over, the atmosphere turned extremely grave. Sun Fei started to feel nervous again. He found that following Qin Feng required a lot of mental endurance. Otherwise, he would have died from a heart attack long ago. A ripple finally appeared on Qin Feng's usually calm expression. It was not because he was frightened by the power of the Immortal Cloud Sect, but because he was puzzled. Why did the people from the Immortal Cloud Sect come to the Devil City? Yin Qin to his young hero, I am Xianyan Sect's genius eldest disciple, Yun Jian. I am very pleased to meet you. To say, Yun Qin lost. T. Qin. Yun Jian said. Who said? Yin Yin. Qin Feng simply glanced at Yun Jian and instantly lost interest in him. Why are you looking for me? A hint of coldness flashed in the depths of Yun Jian's black eyes. As the eldest genius disciple of the Immortal Cloud Sect, he had a great reputation in the pugilistic world. Most pugilistic people would take the initiative to curry favor with him. Now that he came to greet Qin Feng, the other party was cold and indifferent. Hero, you are powerful, but the pugilistic world is not as simple as you think. It's not wrong to keep a low profile. Yun Jian spoke in a lecturing tone. Halfway through, he changed the topic and continued. Our Immortal Cloud Sect's Yunzhao Mountain's Great Elder wants to see you. Come with me. The crowd was in a heated discussion. They were shocked by Yun Jian's words. They thought Immortal Cloud Sect only sent Yun Jian as their representative. Who would have thought that even Mount Yunzhao's head elder would come? It was rumored that Immortal Cloud Sect's sect master, Master Yun Lazy, was a Stage 3 True Chi Realm expert. The first person under the sect master was Mount Yun Zhao's head elder, who was also at Stage 3 True Chi Realm. Everyone's gazes fell on Qin Feng. They wanted to see what this arrogant man was going to do. That was the Level 3 True Chi Realm's head elder. Everyone felt that Qin Feng was going to give in. Even your head elder is here? Then bring me to meet him. Qin Feng felt that the Spirit Beast Commerce Group in the Devil City was a little strange. He planned to ask the Immortal Cloud sect's head elder. Seeing that Qin Feng really gave in, the surrounding discussions became even more intense. Sun Fei's eyes suddenly lost its luster. He thought that Qin Feng would give him another surprise. Ignoring the Immortal Cloud sect's elder and disciples, Sun Fei realized that he was thinking too much. You think you're so capable? Follow closely. Yun Jian sneered in disdain. He turned around and walked towards the inner hall. Qin Feng did not care about the discussions and Yun Jian's arrogance. Once he left, the crowd outside the hall immediately burst into an uproar. TSK, TSK. As expected of one of the hidden 5 hegemons, Immortal Cloud sect. Look at how arrogant their head disciple is. I thought that ugly man would explode. What are you thinking? Other than Alliance leader Qin, who dares to ignore the might of the hidden 5 hegemons. That guy does have some skills, but no matter how powerful he is, he can't go against an inner hidden sect. Along the way, Qin Feng discovered that the hall was separated by a large inner hall. The decorations inside were of a higher grade. The lights were bright, and the place was quiet and elegant. It was like a different world from the outside. Every private room was filled with people. Qin Feng swept his gaze across them. They were all disciples of the inner hidden sections. The disciples of 7 Mountain Monastery that he annihilated previously could only be considered as the lowest existences here. This seemed to be a small gathering of the inner hidden sections. This made Qin Feng puzzled. Elder Yun, I have brought that person. Yun Jian had already walked to the innermost private room respectfully. However, he stood at the door and did not enter. An aged voice came from inside. I got it. Yun Jian retreated to the side as if there was nothing for him to do. Qin Feng stood in the inner hall and looked around. As a disciple of the Xiao Yao sect, Sun Fei had never seen such a big scene. There were a few times when he wanted to turn around and run. After Qin Feng looked around, he discovered that the disciples of the Immortal Cloud sect, Qi Mountain sect, Longevity sect, North Profound sect, Zixia sect, Heavenly Eagle sect, and other inner hidden sects were all here. These sects were considered as second-rate inner hidden sects, and their power was only below the hidden 5 hegemons. Moreover, Qin Feng had swept away the hidden 5 hegemons and defeated them. Now, among the second-rate inner hidden sects, many of them were faintly catching up to the existence of the hidden 5 hegemons like the Immortal Cloud sect. Sun Fei was shocked. He wondered why so many inner hidden sects were gathered here. However, at this moment, someone walked out from the innermost private room. It wasn't just the great elder of Yinzhao Mountain. Behind him was a group of old men. They were the elders and representatives of the various inner hidden sections. It's over, it's over. Senior hero, let's run. Seeing this situation, Sun Fei almost fell to the ground. He secretly pulled on Qin Feng's sleeves and prepared to retreat at any time. Qin Feng's expression didn't change, as if he didn't know these martial arts big shots. He swept his gaze around and said, Yunzhao Mountain, you are it? What do you want from me? When the elders came out, the disciples in the surrounding cubicles all stood up one after another. At such a solemn and dignified moment, Qin Feng's words angered Yun Zhaoshan and the others so much that they almost fell to the ground. The sect disciples glared at Qin Feng and Sun Fei fiercely, looking as if they wanted to skin them alive. Young and frivolous indeed, just like this old man when he was young. Yinzhao Mountain suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. His old eyes flickered as he looked at Qin Feng and said, I wonder which sect this young hero is from. Why do you look so unfamiliar? Everyone looked over with a puzzled expression. Even Sun Fei didn't know which sect Qin Feng was from. With your status, you aren't fit to know this. If you have something to say, hurry up and say it. I don't have time to waste with you guys here. Qin Feng was as domineering as ever. His words caused a huge uproar. Sun Fei didn't know what to say to Qin Feng. He regretted following Qin Feng. This hero's strength was great, but there was something wrong with his intelligence. Without waiting for Yun Zhaoshan to speak, a gray-haired old man standing behind him was instantly enraged. He took a step forward and angrily rebuked, "Stinking brat, don't be so shameless when we're giving you face. We've gathered the disciples of all the major sects in the inner hidden here. Any one of them would be enough to kill you." That elder was Master Beixian of Profound North Sect. His raging true qi seemed to be soaring into the sky. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding disciples all looked eager to fight. "Even if the few of you join forces, you won't be able to do anything to me, let alone these pieces of trash," Qin Feng said honestly. Master Beixian was completely enraged. True qi surged out of his body, and without warning, he slapped towards Qin Feng. "Arrogant fool, why do we need to join forces? I can kill you alone." Boom! As soon as this palm appeared, a hole exploded in the air. Many of the sect's disciples were so frightened that they took a few steps back. They were deeply afraid of being affected by the shockwave. Sun Fei was already scared out of his wits. He stood on the spot like a stone pillar. Master Beixian's skinny palm was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it landed on Qin Feng's chest. All the disciples had a playful look on their faces. It was as if they could already see the exciting scene of Su Yin flying away in the next moment. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and the smiles on everyone's faces froze. Sun Fei's mouth was wide open. He looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Qin Feng stood on the spot like a towering mountain. He didn't move at all. As for Master Beixian, it was as if he was hit by a train. His whole body smashed into the marble wall behind him. The bricks shattered, and a human footprint was left behind. 5 chapters for monthly votes. For the fastest and error-free reading, please bookmark this site and read the latest. Chapter 1287. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, their eyes filled with shock. The entire inner hall fell into dead silence, and the air was filled with a strange smell. Master Beixian was knocked out by Qin Feng and hung on the wall, unable to fall. This reality was unacceptable to everyone. That was Master Beixian of Profound North Sect, a Stage 3 true qi revered martial artist. How could he be so weak? "Brat, how dare you hurt Master Beixian? I think you must be tired of living. Everyone, be careful. This guy's skills are a bit strange. Don't fall for his tricks. No matter how strong he is, I don't believe we can't kill him if we work together." Qin Feng had completely infuriated everyone. The elders behind Yun Zhaoshan all had cold expressions, and they all looked like they were about to attack. More than 10 true qi revered martial artists stood together. It was such a huge scene that Sun Fei's heart almost jumped out of his throat. "Everyone, don't worry. This young man might be our friend." But at this moment, Yun Zhaoshan suddenly stood out. The elders behind him had no choice but to release their aura, but they still stared coldly at Qin Feng. Yun Zhao took a few steps up the mountain and walked to Qin Feng's side. He raised his face with a kind smile and said, "Young hero, we don't have any ill intentions. We just see that you're young and your martial arts are superb, so we want to make friends with you. So, please tell us your sect, young hero. Maybe I have some relations with your sect leader." Qin Feng was the sect leader of the Hero Alliance, the leader of the martial arts world. He didn't want to be friends with an old man like Yun Zhaoshan. "I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a lone cultivator," Qin Feng said indifferently. Yun Zhaoshan's expression changed slightly, dissatisfied with Qin Feng's attitude. The group of elders jumped up again. "Elder Yun, this brat is too arrogant. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. It's better if we work together to take him down. Our alliance this time needs the power of a large sect. Since this brat doesn't belong to any sect, He won't be able to cause much trouble by himself. It's fine if we don't need him. Qin Feng heard that these people seemed to be gathering here for some secret operation, so he pretended to say, although I don't belong to any sect, I have great skills. So what if you are all hidden sects? If I want to annihilate them, I'll annihilate them. If I can't defeat them, I'll run. I'm free and unfettered. These words made those old men angry again, but Yin Zhaoshan had already recovered his composure. He said with a smile, what young hero said is reasonable. I, Yin Zhaoshan, like to befriend heroic people like you. I wonder if you would like to join our big family? Qin Feng suddenly felt like he had fallen into a pyramid scheme, but he calmly said, why would I join you guys? Yin Zhaoshan paused for a moment and glanced at the elders behind him. Then he looked at Qin Feng and said, what do you think of the current situation in the pugilistic world? Young hero, how do the outer hidden sects, the inner hidden sects, and Alliance Master Qin view this? Yin Zhaoshan asked a whole bunch of questions, almost confusing Qin Feng. However, he suddenly became serious. This Yin Zhaoshan had specifically mentioned Alliance Master Qin. It seemed like their plan was related to him. I've already said that I'm a rogue cultivator. I can't be bothered with the matters of the sections. If you have something to say, just say it. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. Qin Feng pretended to be impatient. Yin Zhaoshan grew anxious. He had taken a fancy to Qin Feng's valiant skills. Suddenly, he gritted his teeth and said, young hero, these people are actually disciples and elders of the hidden sections. We've gathered here to discuss something important. Some time ago, Qin Feng was elected as the Alliance Master of the pugilistic world. Since then, he has turned the pugilistic world into a foul atmosphere. The disciples of the outer hidden sects dare to ride roughshod over the inner hidden sects' heads. The positions and powers of the inner hidden sects have all been suppressed. If this continues, the inner hidden sects will surely perish. I see that you are a heroic person, young hero. I'm sure you don't wish for the pugilistic world, which has been passed down for thousands of years, to be destroyed by Qin Feng's hands. Why don't you join us? We'll fight Qin Feng and the outer hidden sects together. Yin Zhaoshan spoke passionately, as if he was trying to brainwash Qin Feng. Qin Feng was shocked. After all this time, this group of old farts had been secretly plotting a rebellion. Qin Feng had changed into Zheng Shuai's appearance when he came to the Devil City. He wondered what kind of expressions these old farts would have if he changed back to Qin Feng's identity. Oh, you want to defeat Qin Feng and the outer hidden sects? Asked Qin Feng. When Yin Zhaoshan saw that Qin Feng's expression did not change much, his heart relaxed slightly. He was afraid that Qin Feng was related to Alliance Master Qin or the outer hidden sects. If that was the case, Yin Zhaoshan would definitely kill Qin Feng on the spot to prevent future troubles. What do you think, young hero? Yin Zhaoshan asked with a chuckle. Qin Feng pretended to think for a moment. I'm not interested in this matter. However, I have to remind you that although the outer hidden sects are weak, Qin Feng is not. He had previously become the Alliance Master of the pugilistic world and single-handedly swept through the inner hidden sects. Then, he stepped into the demon race's sacred land and started a massacre. Can you defeat him? When Yin Zhaoshan heard of Qin Feng's deeds, a trace of fear flickered in the depths of his old eyes. However, he quickly calmed down. That brat Qin Feng is indeed very powerful. Even if all of us joined forces, we might not be able to defeat him. However, we still have an expert behind us. We are only responsible for suppressing the outer hidden sects. As for that brat Qin Feng, someone will deal with him. There's an important figure? Who? Qin Feng hurriedly asked. Yin Zhaoshan's expression suddenly became vigilant. He seemed to have thought of the important figure behind him, and his old eyes filled with reverence. Young hero, I can't tell you too much right now. After all, you haven't joined us yet. I see that you're young and promising. Why don't you join us and do something big? Once the outer hidden sects and Qin Feng are taken down, the pugilistic world will be ours. Yin Zhaoshan began to tempt Qin Feng again. Qin Feng's heart grew more and more doubtful. What kind of backer did these people find for them to dare to have such thoughts of rebellion? All right, Since I've been free lately, I'll join you. However, you'll have to give me some benefits, right? Qin Feng pretended to be deep in thought and said. Yin Zhaoshan was pleasantly surprised. Now that he had roped in another powerful, revered one, his plan this time was even more assured. Young hero, you won't be lacking in benefits. How should I address you? Call me Zheng Shuai, Qin Feng said. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. Everyone stared at Qin Feng with strange expressions. Many people couldn't help but laugh. You have the cheek to call yourself handsome with your looks? This wasn't Qin Feng's first day using the identity of Zheng Shuai. He was already used to this kind of situation. He felt that these people had too low taste and didn't understand his inner qualities and height. Yin Zhaoshan asked a few more questions about Qin Feng and gradually began to believe him. On the other hand, the elders were still dissatisfied with what happened just now and looked at him coldly. Elder Yin, now that I've joined you, I've said everything that needs to be said. Can you tell me who our backer is now? Qin Feng wasted half a day with these old men in order to find out who was behind the scenes. However, Yin Zhaoshan was very vigilant and cunning. He pretended not to hear Qin Feng's question and patted his shoulder with a smile. Young hero Zheng Shuai, welcome to our big alliance. Let's go. I'll bring you to see some good things. If there's anything you like, you can pick one or two as a greeting gift. Qin Feng followed Yin Zhaoshan and the group of elders into the inner hall. The sect disciples returned to their respective rooms and continued to chat. Xu Fei was forgotten by everyone like air. He stood stupidly at the entrance of the inner hall, not knowing what to do. They walked all the way to the innermost room. As soon as they entered, Qin Feng's expression changed. This room was spacious and huge. It was filled with iron cages. There were different kinds of wild beasts locked in the cages. They were all roaring at Qin Feng and the others. What is this place? Qin Feng asked with a cold expression. The hands and feet of the wild beasts locked in the cages were roasted with iron chains. They clearly didn't like being trapped. They were ramming against the iron cages and biting the chains on their hands and feet. Some of the wild beasts rammed against the cages until their heads bled. The group of elders acted as if they didn't see this. Yin Zhaoshan even said to Su Yan with a smile, Young hero Zheng Shuai, don't be afraid. These wild beasts are trapped. This place is absolutely safe. They won't be able to break free and escape. Qin Feng also had a few battle pets. He was quite friendly to the beasts. If these beasts didn't take the initiative to attack him, Qin Feng wouldn't harm the beasts. Looking at the hundreds of iron cages of various sizes in the room, which contained all kinds of fierce beasts, Qin Feng's heart was a little angry. You bunch of beasts, release these animals. A cold but pleasant voice suddenly came from the corner of the room. Qin Feng looked over and was immediately shocked. There was a small iron cage there. It wasn't a wild beast, but a delicate and charming woman. It was the missing Xiao, sure. You little girl, if you dare to shout again, I'll slap you to death. The elder of the longevity sect's face turned cold. He glared at Xiao, sure, fiercely. Xiao, sure, seemed to be frightened. She hugged her knees and squatted in the cage. Her thin shoulders loosened slightly, as if she was crying helplessly. Elder Yun, it's too dangerous for that woman to be locked up here. She can control the minds of these wild beasts. If she escapes with the wild beasts while we're not here, we'll be in big trouble. Yin Jin walked out and said, Why don't I lock her up in my room and keep an eye on her tonight? We can hand her over to the spirit beast sect tomorrow morning. Yin Zhaoshan was silent for a moment before he finally nodded and said, All right, keep an eye on her tonight. She's the person that the spirit beast sect is looking for. Nothing can go wrong. An evil smile flashed across Yun Jin's eyes. He planned to bring Xiao, sure back tonight to play with her. How could he let such a beautiful girl escape? Don't worry, Elder Yun. Yun Jin couldn't wait to open the iron cage and take Xiao, sure away. Xiao sure screamed in fear. She kicked and punched in the air as if she had gone mad. She didn't want to leave with Yun Jin no matter what. Stop! A cold and angry roar suddenly exploded in the room. Yun Jin was startled. He yelled at Qin Feng, Brat, are you out of your mind? This woman has nothing to do with you. Mind your own business. For the fastest and error-free reading, please bookmark this site and read the latest. Chapter 1288. Although Qin Feng had already joined everyone, the elders and Yun Jian were still very unhappy with him. Qin Feng ignored Yun Jian's cold expression and said indifferently, "I'll only say this once. Stay away from that woman, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Yun Jian couldn't stand Qin Feng's arrogance. He reached out to grab Xiao Shi's chest and glared at Qin Feng provocatively. "I want to bang her." "You can't." He had only shouted out half of his vicious words when they came to an abrupt stop. Yun Jian felt the weight on his hand disappear. He looked down instinctively and was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His right hand that was about to grab Xiao Shi had disappeared. It was severed from his wrist. The wound looked like it was scorched by fire, and it was black and smelly. Ouch! A heart-wrenching pain came, and the whole room was filled with Yun Jian's heart-wrenching screams. The elders of the inner hidden sects were dumbfounded. They finally witnessed Qin Feng's power. He cut off the palm of a stage, one true qi expert in the blink of an eye. Moreover, he didn't attract anyone's attention. This move was too terrifying. "Young hero Zheng Shuai, what are you doing?" Yun Jian was the genius eldest disciple of a mortal cloud sect. Yun Zhaoshan's expression immediately darkened. Qin Feng didn't care at all. He strode toward Xiao Shi in the cage. Don't come over. Get lost." Xiao Shi didn't know who Zheng Shuai was. Moreover, unlike Lin Bei and the other girls who liked to chase after celebrities, she had only seen Zheng Shuai on TV a few times. When she saw Zheng Shuai striding towards her, she trembled in fear. Qin Feng felt a stab of pain in his heart. He was so furious that he wanted to kill everyone in the room, but he still forced himself to calm down. There was still a mastermind behind Yun Zhaoshan and the others. Qin Feng had to find them. Sure, it's Qin Feng. Qin Feng used the Hero Alliance's communication function to communicate with Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi, who was struggling fiercely, suddenly froze. She stared at Qin Feng with a pair of helpless, beautiful eyes. "Is it really you?" Xiao Shi also used telepathy to communicate. "It's really me. I heard from Bei that you came to Devil City a few days ago. I was worried about you, so I came to look for you. As for my current appearance, it's just a disguise." Xiao Shi didn't suspect anything after Qin Feng explained. She suddenly pounced on Qin Feng. Sob, take me away, take me away." Xiao Shi cried like a Raymond. Her frail body trembled in Qin Feng's arms. Qin Feng felt a stabbing pain in his heart. He caressed her back and comforted her. "Okay, I'll take you away. Don't be afraid. With me here, no one can bully you." After comforting him, Qin Feng suddenly turned to look at Yun Zhaoshan and said resolutely, "I've taken a fancy to this woman. Let her sleep with me tonight." Yun Zhaoshan and the group of elders were stunned. Yun Jian was still screaming miserably, glaring fiercely at Qin Feng. "Young hero Zheng Shuai, I didn't know you like this. There are many young models outside. You can choose any one of them. I can even get 10 beauties for you. But this woman is special. She's the person the mastermind is looking for, so I can't give her to you." Qin Feng was about to kill them when he felt Xiao Shi's hand pressing down on his palm. "Qin Feng, don't be rash. I want to find the people behind them. I want to save these beasts. I want to avenge them," Xiao Shi said through her mind. Xiao Shi became agitated as she spoke. Her last sentence was a roar. Qin Feng had known this girl for almost a year. She had always been a loner and had a gentle personality. It was rare for her to be so agitated. Qin Feng put his hand down. He decided to delay Yun Zhaoshan and the others for now. It wouldn't be too late to kill them all after he lured their backer out. "I don't care what this woman is for. I like her good looks. If Elder Yun is willing to let me play with her for a night, I promise I'll give it my all when we attack the outer hidden sects." Qin Feng started to whet Yun Zhaoshan's appetite. As expected, Yun Zhaoshan's eyes lit up. After a moment of silence, he said, "All right, I can let you have this woman for a night, but you have to promise not to let her escape." Qin Feng placed his hand on Xiao Shi's chest and said with a flirtatious smile, "Do you think I'll let such an exquisite beauty run away?" To cooperate with Qin Feng, Xiao Shi started to struggle again. She even cursed, "So you're with them. Let go of me, don't touch me." The elders were enraged when they saw this. Many of them shook their heads and left. Yin Zhaoshan walked to Qin Feng and said, "Young hero Zheng Shuai, I'll take you to your room. Have fun tonight." Elder Yin, Yin Jian was infuriated. His broken arm had stopped bleeding. He hugged his arm and looked at Yin Zhaoshan. Yin Zhaoshan looked helpless. Compared to Qin Feng and Yin Jian, he thought more highly of Qin Feng. This kind of powerful expert was rare in the outer martial arts world. If he really helped everyone suppress the outer hidden sects, he would definitely be able to suppress a group of martial arts experts. Your arm is injured. Go back and recuperate. This is a detachment pill. If you eat it within 20 hours, your arm will grow back. I won't be able to save you if you take any longer. Yin Zhaoshan tossed a jade bottle to Yin Jian. It contained a grade 5 spiritual pill. As for Xiao Shi, Yin Zhaoshan obviously planned to give her to Qin Feng. Yin Jian was so angry that he gritted his teeth. However, there was nothing he could do. He glared at Qin Feng fiercely and ran away. Qin Feng didn't care about Yin Jian at all. He was going to kill that brat sooner or later. How dare he covet Shi's beauty? He must be tired of living. Yin Zhaoshan prepared to take Qin Feng out of the underground venue. He thought Qin Feng didn't manage to get a room. Elder Yin, I snatched a room in the restaurant. I'll go up myself, Qin Feng said. Yin Zhaoshan was more or less worried. Qin Feng continued, Elder Yin, are you afraid that I'll run away? I'll tell you the truth. Even if you and those old men join forces, you're no match for me. If I really want to leave, do you think you can stop me? Yin Zhaoshan was shocked. From the moment Qin Feng knocked out Master Bei Xian and cut off Yin Jian's hand without anyone noticing, he realized that he might not be a match for Qin Feng. Young hero Zheng Shuai, you worry too much. I was planning to send you up myself. Since that's the case, I won't disturb young hero Zheng Shuai's fun tonight. I'll call someone to call you for breakfast tomorrow morning. Yin Zhaoshan didn't dare to act recklessly under Qin Feng's powerful influence. He left first. Qin Feng brought Xiao Shi to the big suite on the top floor. As soon as they entered the room, Xiao Shi threw herself into Qin Feng's arms and cried. It seemed like she had suffered a lot recently. Shi, don't be sad. I'll kill all those bastards who bullied you sooner or later. Xiao Shi nodded and wiped her tears. She choked and said, They only put me under house arrest. They didn't do anything to me. Fortunately, you came in time tonight. Otherwise, I would have lost my innocence. Xiao Shi was a conservative woman. If Yin Jian had really violated her, she would have killed herself. Qin Feng felt a lingering fear in his heart. He carried Xiao Shi to the sofa in the living room and sat down. Xiao Shi lay in Qin Feng's arms like a kitten. As she cried, she gradually calmed down. Suddenly, she raised her head and looked at Qin Feng with a blushing face. I'm so embarrassed. Why are you crying at this age? Don't laugh at me. Xiao Shi pouted and showed a rare, adorable side. Qin Feng hugged her tightly and said, Why would I laugh at you? Oh, right. Why did you suddenly come to Devil City? Is it because of those beasts? Qin Feng knew that Xiao Shi was a spirit beast master. She had deep feelings for the animals in this world. They were like friends or even family to her. Now that there was a merchant group selling beasts in Devil City, Xiao Shi couldn't stand it. Those beasts aren't ferocious, and they won't hurt humans easily. They only defend and fight back when humans step into their territory. Qin Feng, those captured beasts are so pitiful. Can you help me save them? I'll repay you in any way I can. Qin Feng had a special feeling for the beasts. Even if Xiao Shi didn't beg him, he wouldn't sit idly by. But now that he was hugging Xiao Shi and looking at her beautiful face, Qin Feng smirked and said, Repay me in any way you can? Then serve me well tonight. Xiao Shi blushed and twisted her head against Qin Feng's chest. You're so annoying. Qin Feng was just teasing Xiao Sure. He had never slept with this woman, and he knew that Xiao Sure was shy and conservative. She wouldn't do those things unless she truly loved a man. By the way, Sure, how long have you been imprisoned? Who's the mastermind behind them? Qin Feng suddenly asked about the matter at hand. Xiao Sure's expression turned cold, as if she had turned into a different person. The mastermind behind them is my enemy. Qin Feng was shocked. Xiao Sure's enemy? He suddenly remembered that there was a mission in the system related to Xiao Sure's revenge. It seemed like he could complete that mission this time. Who is your enemy? Qin Feng continued to ask. Xiao Sure, who was always kind and gentle, had a cold expression on her face. She gritted her teeth and said, "They are from the Extinction Sect, Spirit Beast Sect. They make a living by capturing and taming beasts. They came out of their closed-door training 20 years ago and captured everyone in my family. I was the only one who escaped. I've been searching for them, and now I finally found them." Qin Feng was shocked by Xiao Sure's words. Extinction Sect, Spirit Beast Sect? Your enemy is from the Extinction Sect? Xiao Sure nodded seriously and said, "I didn't tell you before because my enemy is too powerful. I didn't want to implicate you and my sisters." Chapter 1289. Qin Feng and Xiao Sure met in provincial capital university. When Qin Feng first saw this girl, he felt that she was a loner and was different from the others. Xiao Sure had always been cold and aloof, keeping people at arm's length. But now, Qin Feng truly understood her heart. She wanted to grow up happily like a normal girl, have more friends, and have more beautiful memories of her youth. However, she had to go against her destiny and walked the lonely and strong path. Suddenly, Qin Feng felt that Xiao Sure and Hua Yin were similar. Both of them had the desire for revenge, and their hearts were strong and persistent. Speaking of enemies, Xiao Sure became more and more emotional. Qin Feng quickly hugged her tightly and kissed her forehead. Xiao Sure's body trembled, and she looked at Qin Feng in a daze and shyness. Sure, don't worry. Your enemy is my enemy. I will avenge you," Qin Feng said with determination. Xiao Sure's heart was filled with warmth. She opened her eyes wide and looked at Qin Feng. Her beautiful eyes became misty. Suddenly, she raised her head and pressed her lips on Qin Feng's. Their love became one. It was the first time Xiao Sure experienced the feeling of being a woman. It was painful and intoxicating. The next morning, when Qin Feng stopped, Yin Zhaoshan's voice came from outside the door. "Young hero Zheng Shuai, breakfast is ready. Everyone is waiting for you in the dining hall." Xiao Sure was naked in Qin Feng's arms, and her face was flushed. However, she was much more outgoing than yesterday. She hugged Qin Feng's arm and did not want to get up. "I know. You guys eat first. I want to have fun with Sure for a while more," Qin Feng said impatiently. Yin Zhaoshan rolled his eyes and cursed in his heart before he left. He was relieved that Qin Feng did not run away with Xiao Sure. Xiao Sure rubbed her head against Qin Feng's chest and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito, "You're so annoying. Why are you talking to that old man?" It was rare for Qin Feng to see Xiao Sure in such a charming and cute manner. The fire in his belly rose again. "All right, I'll stop talking. Let's get down to business." Xiao Sure screamed, and her voice became seductive. Although she did not know how to do it, she tried her best to cooperate with Qin Feng. Xiao Sure felt warm when she saw Qin Feng lying on her body. Did you all start eating first? How rude." Half an hour later, Qin Feng and Xiao Sure arrived at the dining hall and sat at the table where Yun Zhaoshan and the elders of the inner hidden sect were seated. Everyone's faces darkened. They were so angry that smoke was rising from their heads. Just now, Yin Zhaoshan had personally called Qin Feng over for dinner, but this guy refused to come. Now, he had the nerve to say such things? "Brat, don't be too arrogant. Whether it's age or status, we're all much higher than you. Do we have to wait for you to come before we can eat? Who do you think you are?" Elder Yun, I think you should reconsider. Our current alliance is strong enough. There's no need for that kid to join us. You're right. Even without him, we can still take down the outer world of martial artists. Xiao Shi anxiously grabbed Qin Feng's arm. She didn't know Qin Feng's current strength, so she was afraid that these people would gang up on Qin Feng. If that happened, it would be troublesome for them. Cough, cough. All right, we're all on the same side. There's no need to bicker over such a small matter. Elders, please don't say another word. Yin Zhaoshan stood up for Qin Feng. The elders were so angry that they blew their beards and glared at him. Yin Jian sat at the table next to Qin Feng. It seemed like he didn't have the right to sit at Qin Feng's table despite his status. His right arm had grown back. The detachment pill's effect was truly miraculous. Yin Zhaoshan pretended not to notice the elder's dissatisfaction. In fact, he didn't like Qin Feng, but he could only endure it for now. If it was just a deal with the outer hidden sects, Yin Zhaoshan wouldn't have given in to Qin Feng. Just as the elders had said, it didn't matter if he joined or not. However, the rebellion this time wasn't that simple. Yin Zhaoshan planned to suppress the outer hidden sects and subdue the inner hidden sects, especially Ice Lake Mountain, Serenity, Hero City, and Snow Mountain sect. Their forces couldn't be underestimated. The elders flung their sleeves angrily and left. The disciples at Yin Jian's table also left with cold faces. Yin Zhaoshan was the only one left in the noisy dining hall to eat with Qin Feng and Xiao Shi. Yin Zhaoshan had finished his meal a long time ago, so he just sat there and watched the two eat. Sure, eat more. Look at you. You've lost so much weight that you look like a bolt of lightning. Qin Feng ignored Yin Zhaoshan's existence and continued to put food into Xiao Shi's bowl with a doting expression. He didn't stop even when the food in her bowl was piled up into a small hill. Xiao Shi nodded repeatedly and didn't try to stop Qin Feng. She had been alone since she was young, and now she saw Qin Feng as her family. She felt a warmth in her heart when she felt the concern of a family member that she hadn't felt for a long time. When they were almost done with their meal, Qin Feng gave Yin Zhaoshan a sideways glance and said, "Are you sitting here like a stone pillar? Can't you see that the tea is cold? Hurry up and get us some hot tea." Qin Feng couldn't go on a killing spree yet, so he purposely made things difficult for Yin Zhaoshan. Yin Zhaoshan's face was cold, but he didn't explode. In the end, he even put on a smile and went to the side to serve tea. He looked like Qin Feng and Xiao Shi's servant. Xiao Shi finally let out a sigh of relief. She hugged Qin Feng's arm tightly and looked like she couldn't leave him. After a while, Yin Zhaoshan said, "Young hero Zheng Shuai, it's almost time. Let's go out." Xiao Shi immediately communicated with Qin Feng through telepathy. "Qin Feng, the people from the Spirit Beast Business Group will come to Devil City to sell beasts at noon every day." Qin Feng looked at the time. There was only half an hour until noon. No wonder Yin Zhaoshan was so anxious. Qin Feng wanted to see what kind of people the Spirit Beast Business Group was, so he hugged Xiao Shi and followed them out. Devil City was bustling during the day, just like the ancient Silk Road. However, the people who came and went were all oddly dressed. Most of them were disciples from the outer martial world. When Qin Feng walked out of Chuanzhong restaurant, he saw a large group of people surrounding an open space not far away. Some of the disciples were followed by beasts, and some were even riding on beasts. These bastards! I'm so pissed. Xiao Shi's face was ice cold when she saw the beasts' limbs and necks were chained. Qin Feng hugged her tighter and blew hot air into her ear. "Don't worry. Let's take a look first." Xiao Shi nodded and listened to Qin Feng. The three of them approached the crowd, and the roars of beasts rose one after another. Gao Matzi, what kind of beast did you buy? It doesn't listen to you at all. I see that it's ferocious, and it looks like it wants to eat you up." Laughter came from the crowd. Gao Matzi was tall and burly, and his face was full of black pockmarks. He led a white wolf that seemed to be the alpha wolf. Its eyes glowed with a dark green light as it stared at Gao Matzi with a fierce expression. Gao Matzi's face turned pale. He had bought this white wolf from the Spirit Beast Business Group yesterday, and he hadn't tamed it yet. Bang! A muffled sound echoed in the air. Gao Matsi raised his hand and whipped the white wolf. "You bastard! Who asked you to glare at me? Do you believe that I won't whip you to death?" The whip was made of iron, and Gao Matsi was a stage 6 inner chi martial artist. His whip was so fierce that the white wolf jumped on the ground in pain. However, the white wolf didn't cry out in pain. The anger in its eyes intensified, and it continued to stare coldly at Gao Matsi. "Io, you bastard! How can you be so stubborn? I don't believe that I can't tame you." Gao Matsi was enraged. He raised and fell his hand, and the sound of the whip echoed in the air like muffled thunder. The white wolf's fur was dyed red, but the sect disciples didn't pity it at all. Some of them even clapped and cheered excitedly. "That's right. Whip that bastard a few more times, and it'll learn its lesson." "Gao Matsi, you're too weak. Look, that white wolf didn't even cry out in pain. Have you eaten yet? I wonder what kind of beast the Spirit Beast Commerce Group will bring today." It would be great if there were demonic beasts. The crowd was very lively. Gao Matsi wasn't the only one taming beasts. There were also a few men whipping the beasts they bought. Xiao Shi saw the cruel scene as soon as she arrived. She was so angry that tears fell from her eyes. Before she could say anything, Qin Feng's cold voice sounded. "Stop!" Everyone was shocked and looked at Qin Feng. Many people didn't know Qin Feng, so they ignored him. Their gazes quickly fell on Xiao Shi. They were deeply attracted by this exquisite beauty. "Are you yelling at me? Who the fuck are you?" Gao Matsi stopped whipping and glared at Qin Feng arrogantly. Many lecherous and bold disciples took a step forward. They ignored Qin Feng's existence and started to tease Xiao Shi. "Yo, what a beautiful girl. I'm the eldest disciple of the Flame sect. Which sect are you from?" "Little beauty, you're as beautiful as a fairy. Why are you with that ugly man? Do you want to be friends with me? I've booked a room in a restaurant in Sichuan. Tonight, let's drink and sing." Xiao Shi's face was cold. She ignored the men who tried to hit on her. Yin Zhaoshan was gloomy. He finally realized that Zheng Shuai was a malignant star. He caused trouble wherever he went. However, Yin Zhaoshan wasn't worried about Zheng Shuai. He knew that the outer hidden sect disciples were going to suffer. It was just that Gao Matsi and the others didn't know that. They were arrogant and continued to act ruthlessly towards Qin Feng. Swoosh! The flame disappeared in a flash. It was so fast that no one could see it. The white-clad man who was about to touch Xiao Shi's chin suddenly froze. His eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the hand that had just disappeared from his hand. Roar! Chapter 1290. Who did this to me? The one who lost his hand was the Flame sect's disciple. He covered the wound that was gushing with blood and glared at his surroundings. "There's no need to look for me. It's me," Qin Feng said coldly. The Flame sect's disciple was stunned. He never thought it would be Qin Feng. Qin Feng was now using Zheng Shuai's identity. He was ugly and his aura was mediocre. Anyone who saw him for the first time would ignore him. "Brat, I think you're tired of living," the Flame sect's disciple roared and threw his other fist at Qin Feng. However, before his fist could touch Qin Feng, his body froze as if someone cast a body freezing spell on him. Rip! There was a soft sound of skin being cut, but most people did not hear it. Then, someone in the crowd screamed. Under everyone's horrified gaze, the Flame sect's disciple was cut in half at the waist and fell into a pool of blood. "Ah, someone's dead. Someone's dead. Who? Who did this?" "Yin Zhaoshan, it must be Yin Zhaoshan. He's standing next to the Flame sect's disciple. He's the most powerful person in the crowd, so he can kill without leaving a trace." Yin Zhaoshan was furious that he was shot even though he was lying down. However, he was also extremely shocked. He was standing less than a meter away from Qin Feng, but he did not see how Qin Feng did it. The crowd was in an uproar. Everyone kept a few meters away from Yin Zhaoshan as they thought he was the one who killed Yin Zhaoshan. Yin Zhaoshan was too lazy to explain. After all, the one who was killed was an outer hidden sect disciple. He could not wait for Zheng Shuai to kill all the outer hidden sect disciples. Qin Feng acted as if nothing had happened. He walked to Gao Matzi with Xiao Shi in his arms and said, "Give me this white wolf." Qin Feng's tone was cold and unquestionable. Gao Matzi was stunned. He felt a little guilty, but he pretended to be calm and shouted, "Where did you come from, brat? I bought this battle pet with 100 low-grade spiritual stones. Do you really think I'll give it to you just because you say so?" Flames flashed. The fire blade martial skill that combined the wind blade and destructive fire was extremely powerful. In the blink of an eye, Gao Matzi, who was a stage 6 inner chi expert, fell to the ground. The crowd cried out in alarm again. Many people were so scared that they ran away like rats. In broad daylight, the Devil City felt like it was haunted. It was impossible to see who was the culprit, but 2 martial experts had died consecutively. Xiao Shi was also shocked by Qin Feng's decisiveness, but she quickly calmed down. She knew that Qin Feng did everything for her. Sure, that white wolf belongs to you." Qin Feng patted Xiao Shi's head. Xiao Shi hurriedly ran to the white wolf's side and knelt down. The ferocious beast that bared its fangs suddenly became as docile as a lamb. It allowed Xiao Shi to stroke its fur in pleasure. Everyone was stupefied, and they couldn't figure out the situation before them. Qin Feng snatched a white wolf, but he didn't stop. This was just the beginning. "Give me the 3-eyed elephant boar in your hands." This time, he arrived in front of a man wearing the Knife-Throwing Society's uniform. The Knife-Throwing Society disciple was using a large knife to chop the 3-eyed elephant boar's head in an attempt to tame this ferocious beast. The 3-eyed elephant boar also had coarse skin and thick flesh. Its head was chopped a dozen times, but only a small wound appeared. However, the force of the large knife hitting its head was so great that the wild boar screamed in pain. The Knife-Throwing Society disciple stared at Qin Feng doubtfully. He clearly didn't put him in his eyes and shouted, "Who are you? Are you crazy?" Swoosh! Flames flew past, and the strange bloody scene appeared again. Just as the Knife-Throwing Society disciple finished speaking, his eyes suddenly shot out a terrified expression. His body was cut in half at the waist, and fresh blood dyed the ground under his feet red. Crash! This time, the crowd was completely in an uproar. Just now, everyone was still guessing who killed him. They all suspected the Immortal Cloud sect's Grand Elder, Yun Zhaoshan, but at this moment, everyone woke up as if they were in a dream. The killer was actually this unremarkable, ugly man in front of them. Sure, the 3-eyed elephant boar is also yours." Qin Feng acted as if he didn't see the astonished gazes cast on him from all directions and went to another disciple's side as if nothing had happened. This time, Qin Feng didn't need to say anything. The Sky Mountain sect disciple trembled in fear and immediately gave him the single-horned rhinoceros in his hand. What happened next was very smooth. Under Qin Feng's powerful might, who dared to disobey his orders? Those disciples who had wild beast mounts felt helpless and had no choice but to hand them over. In less than 10 minutes, Xiao Shi was surrounded by over a dozen ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts were also strange. In the hands of those sect disciples, they were all wild and unyielding, but in front of a weak woman like Xiao Shi, they were like docile sheep. There were even a few ferocious beasts that used their heads to rub Xiao Shi's body. Yun Zhaoshan was completely shocked by Qin Feng's strength. He stood to the side and didn't dare to speak nonsense. Those inner hidden sect's grand elders and Yun Jian were even more dumbstruck. They had always disliked Qin Feng and wanted to find an opportunity to teach him a lesson. Now this thought was gradually suppressed. The Spirit Beast Commerce Group is here. Everyone in front, make way. Suddenly, a shout came from afar. Everyone's spirits were lifted, and they looked in the direction of the voice excitedly. Xiao Shi's expression turned cold. Qin Feng furrowed his brows. He wanted to see what kind of people the Spirit Beast Commerce Group had sent. The crowd had already parted to form a path for Qin Feng. 8 snow-white steeds pulled a huge carriage. Those 8 snow-white steeds were obviously not ordinary steeds. Their eyes glinted with intelligence, and a trace of spiritual energy flowed through their bodies. Their quality was almost on par with Qin Feng's flaming dragon horse. It's really the Spirit Beast Commerce Group. Today seems to be the last day of the Beastkin auction. I wonder if there will be any demonic beasts? Demonic beasts are very powerful. It's going to be hard to get them, right? So what if there are demonic beasts or even spirit beasts? Have you forgotten about that ugly freak? With him around, even the beastkin that we bought will be snatched away by him. As the crowd discussed, the Spirit Beast Commerce Group's carriage arrived. The 8 horses stopped, and 7 people alighted from the carriage. There were both men and women, and they were all very young. 6 of them wore identical white robes, and the last man alighted from the carriage wore coarse cloth clothes. Looking at his appearance and attire, he looked like a servant. "Ha! Young hero Ling Feng, heroine Ling Yin'er, we have been waiting here for a long time." Yin Zhaoshan already greeted them with a smiling face. He was the great elder of a mortal cloud sect, one of the hidden 5 hegemons, but he looked like he wanted to curry favor with a young man and woman. The man was handsome and tall, and looked to be in his early 30s. The woman was slender and elegant, and should be younger, about 25 or 26 years old. Today's auction time is starting. Let everyone line up. Ling Feng had an arrogant expression. He nodded at Yin Zhaoshan and ignored him. Yin Zhaoshan was not angry. Instead, he carefully retreated, turned to the crowd, and shouted, "Today's auction is about to start. Everyone, please maintain order. If anyone causes trouble, don't blame me for not showing mercy." As the great elder of a mortal cloud sect, Yin Zhaoshan's words were still very intimidating. The pugilistic disciples all stood in a few lines, waiting for Ling Feng and the rest to come over and start the auction with reverence. Qin Feng and Xiao Shi also casually stood in a line. These are the people from Spirit Beast sect? Feeling Xiao Shi's body trembling vigorously, Qin Feng understood. I still can't confirm their identities, but it's not far from the mark. Because only Spirit Beast masters from the Extinction sect know how to tame beasts. They capture beasts all year round to tame, and then use the beasts to exchange for various cultivation resources. They are simply shameless to the extreme. Qin Feng had been sizing up Ling Feng. This person's aura was as robust as the sea, giving him a feeling that he could not see through. Moreover, he was only in his early 30s. Why had such a young and powerful cultivator appeared in the pugilistic world? Qin Feng had already determined that they were very likely people from the Extinction sect. Ling Feng had already led the group into the crowd. He suddenly stopped and looked in the direction of the smell of blood. The 2 disciples from the Flame sect and Throwing Dagger Society that Qin Feng had just annihilated were lying there with their waists severed. The scene was very horrifying. What's going on? Ling Feng's expression suddenly turned cold. A majestic aura burst out from his body, causing many people's hearts to tremble. Yin Zhaoshan was immediately put in a difficult position. It was not appropriate for him to expose Qin Feng. Just as he was about to make up an excuse that the 2 killed each other, someone in the crowd shouted, "Lord Ling Feng, you have to seek justice for us." Ling Feng's expression changed. He looked at the crowd and said, "What happened? Tell me in detail." Yin Zhaoshan felt helpless in his heart. An outer martial arts disciple ran out of the crowd and said to Ling Feng carefully, "Yes, it was that ugly guy who killed these 2 people. He is very powerful and wants to steal the beast from us. Who would dare to buy beasts in this way? Sooner or later, it will be snatched by that guy." The one who complained was a Sky Mountain sect disciple. His single-horned rhinoceros was snatched by Qin Feng. Now that the people from a Spirit Beast business group were here, this guy seemed to have found a backer. Ling Feng looked in the direction the Sky Mountain sect disciple was pointing at. His gaze fell on Qin Feng. After a simple glance, he immediately revealed a disdainful expression. "You dare to rob here? Do you know that this piece of land has been taken by us? I really didn't know that Devil City is your territory. This is obviously the land of China. What right do you have to occupy this place?" Qin Feng stood in front of Xiao Shi and looked at Ling Feng with a solemn expression. Whether it was Ling Feng or his companions behind him, all of them gave Qin Feng a sense of extreme danger. Ling Feng was taken aback. He didn't expect Qin Feng to have the guts to talk to him like this. When his gaze shifted to Qiao Shi, his pupils shrank. He stared at the beast surrounding Qiao Shi as if deep in thought. A moment later, Ling Feng suddenly pointed at Qiao Shi and asked, "Who are you?" Qiao Shi's expression was cold. Before she could speak, Qin Feng coldly shouted, "This is my woman. You better not have any ideas about her." For the fastest and most error-free reading, please bookmark this site for the latest news. Chapter 1291. The atmosphere froze, and the temperature dropped to the freezing point. Qin Feng was the powerful, venerable one who had shocked the crowd not long ago, and the mysterious spirit beast business group was on the other side. Now that both sides were about to fight, the outer martial artists were scared out of their wits. Swordsman Ling Feng, that woman is the person you're looking for. I've been keeping her under house arrest, and I'm going to hand her over to you today. Yin Zhaoshan quickly stepped forward. Ling Feng's eyes lit up, and he stared at Qiao Shi as if he had found a treasure in the desert. Who's that man? Yin Zhaoshan was a little nervous. He was now sure that Qin Feng was a maleficent star who would not stay idle no matter where he went. And now he had offended the Spirit Beast Business Group. Swordsman Ling Feng, that's a young friend of mine. He has joined our alliance. I hope Swordsman Ling Feng will forgive him for his recklessness. Yin Zhaoshan pleaded on Qin Feng's behalf. It was not because he had a deep relationship with Qin Feng, but he did not have the chance to use Qin Feng to help him conquer the world, and he did not want to lose such a powerful helper. Oof. You have us as your backing in the alliance. What are you afraid of? Why are you supporting a piece of trash like him? I'll just let him die. Ling Feng was so powerful that he had already flown toward Qin Feng. Qin Feng's expression changed drastically. He quickly pushed Qiao Shi away and threw a punch at Ling Feng. Neither of them had the slightest intention of retreating. When their fists and palms collided in the air, a strong gust of wind rose, and the faint hum of swords could be heard in the wind. The crowd of martial artists was dumbfounded. Rumble. The sound of an explosion reverberated in the air. Qin Feng retreated a few steps before he regained his balance. He looked at Ling Feng, who was standing still on the ground. His hands were still dancing in the air, and he scolded, "There's a brat like you in the outer martial world? That's a sinister punch. If it was someone else, they would have been hit." Qin Feng had already merged the special Thunder Tiger Fist and Solitary Nine Swords into a new skill, the special Thunder Tiger Flying Sword Fist. The gust of wind, mixed with sword chi, was extremely fierce and violent. Qin Feng believed that only a few people in the outer martial world could withstand his punch, but the young man in front of him easily broke it. "It's a pity that you met me. Only death awaits you." Ling Feng laughed coldly and delivered another palm strike. A violent wave of true chi surged forward, and it terrified the group of outer martial artists so much that they retreated dozens of feet away. Sure, hide first." Qin Feng's expression changed drastically, as if he was facing a great enemy. He no longer cared about Qiao Shi. He leaped into the air, raised the saber in his hand, and swung it down. 100-meter-long golden saber energy enveloped the area. Rumble. The golden phoenix was extremely powerful, but Ling Feng stood where he was without moving. He raised his hands above his head and formed a circle of hand seals in the air, blocking Qin Feng's attack. Loud explosions rang out everywhere, but the spirit wind was not damaged in the slightest. The expressions of the people standing behind him turned cold, and they jumped out in unison. Before they could attack, they heard Ling Feng say with a smile, "Don't move. It's rare for me to meet a small opponent in the martial world. Let me teach him a lesson." As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Feng leaped into the air and disappeared in the blink of an eye. A pink light appeared under his feet, and a small and exquisite flying sword sped through the air. It reached Qin Feng's side in a few breaths' time. "Kid, The golden saber in your hand and the golden wheel under your feet are not bad. I'm taking them." Ling Feng had a playful smile on his face. He thrust his palm forward, but it carried the power of heaven and earth. A violent wave of qi rushed toward Qin Feng. Two balls of fire leaped in the air. Qin Feng was shocked. After this simple exchange, he estimated that his opponent had at least stepped into stage 4 of true qi. Ling Feng was only in his early 30s. In the entire secular world of China and the outer martial world, who could step into stage 4 of true qi at the age of 30? The most powerful person in the secular world, the divine dragon, was over 30 years old, but he had just broken through to stage 2 of true qi. Could this be the power of the people from the extinction sect? Qin Feng didn't have time to think. The aura of death was already nearing him. He hurriedly swung his blade, and a golden light flashed, cutting the handprint in the air in half. However, the spirit wind in the air disappeared. A gust of wind suddenly surged behind Qin Feng's back, and before he could react, he was sent flying. Rumble. Qin Feng landed on the ground, creating a huge pit. The sound in the air had just started, and it did not stop for a long time. Xiao Shishir was so scared that her face turned pale. She wanted to check on Qin Feng's injuries, but she was pulled away by Ling Yun'er. Ling Feng had already landed. He did not even bother to look at Qin Feng in the deep pit. He looked at Xiao Shishir and said, "Not bad. This woman is the kind of person we're looking for." Ling Yun'er nodded and said, "I thought all the spirit beast masters in the outer martial world were extinct after coming out of seclusion. When we go back, the sect leader will definitely reward us." Ling Feng looked arrogant. He glanced at the crowd around him, like an immortal in heaven looking at ants on the ground. "Oof. I've been in seclusion for 20 years, and the outer martial world has become worse and worse. You're like a bunch of ants. Let's get down to business. First, we'll put this woman in the carriage, and then we'll start today's auction." As soon as Ling Feng finished speaking, he was already preparing to start selling beasts. However, a strong gust of wind blew behind him. He hurriedly sent a palm strike behind him, which collided with Qin Feng's special grade Thunder Tiger, Flying Sword Fist. Rumble. A loud explosion sounded, and the 8 horses neighed in fear. Ling Yun'er was not prepared for it. She was also startled, and Xiao Shishir took the opportunity to escape. In a flash of golden light, Qin Feng carried Xiao Shishir and retreated 100 meters away. He landed on the ground and looked at Ling Feng and the others cautiously. Their faces darkened. They did not expect that Qin Feng could survive Ling Feng's powerful palm strike. This guy is interesting. He has a great sage gold equipment, and he has cultivated an earth-grade martial skill and a high-level cultivation method. Don't make a move. I want to see how long he can last. Ling Feng stared at the golden light flickering on Qin Feng's body. After that palm strike, Qin Feng had activated a layer of the Vajra esoteric invincible golden body. Golden light shone from his body, making him look like a bronze statue that descended from the heavens. Rumble. A loud explosion sounded. Ling Feng seemed to be serious. He waved his hand, and a long sword glowing with purple light pierced through the air. It looked like a simple strike, but the weather changed accordingly. A solid sword blade exploded in the air. Swoosh! Stepping on the golden whirlwind wheel, Qin Feng dodged the attack. He could feel that the sword was more powerful than his golden phoenix. A loud explosion sounded on the ground. Wherever Qin Feng went, he left a cloud of dust behind him. It was like a scene from a movie. The outer martial artists were stunned. Their faces were filled with disbelief. They had been in the martial arts world for many years and were very familiar with the experts of the various sections. Zheng Shuai and Ling Feng were unfamiliar faces, but they were powerful. Some people even thought that even if the Martial Arts Alliance Master Qin Feng came, he might not be a match for the two of them. "Brat, you can run pretty fast, but your cultivation level is still too low. Go to hell." Ling Feng chased after him. With a roar, he suddenly increased his speed. The true qi around him was like the power of heaven and earth. The dark clouds in the sky changed according to his aura. The long sword in his hand pierced through the air, creating a crack. The sword chi suddenly expanded and turned into 100 meters long sword shadow. It shrouded Qin Feng's head. This time, Qin Feng had no way out. He turned around and swung his saber. The angry cry of the fire phoenix rang in the sky. The sword chi formed a huge fire phoenix and soared into the sky. Rumble. Two violent auras collided in the sky. Ling Feng's sword chi was incomparably sharp, as if it could destroy anything. The fire phoenix's aura quickly dissipated and finally disappeared. However, there was still a ray of purple sword chi that pierced through and struck Qin Feng's chest bang. The sword light, which was faintly discernible and was about to be extinguished, hit Qin Feng like a speeding train. Loud noises came one after another. Qin Feng's body was like a kite with a broken string. He flew hundreds of meters away. Dust filled the air, and the sound of the explosion lingered for a long time. It was like a sandstorm had swept through Devil City. Everyone's vision was blocked. The air was filled with an oppressive aura. Everyone was shocked by the fierce battle between the venerables. They were puzzled. When did so many venerables appear in the outer martial world? Yun Zhaoshan stood rooted to the ground like a stone pillar. He was shocked by Qin Feng's strength, and even more shocked by Ling Feng's strength. Yun Jian was excited. Seeing Qin Feng being abused, he was so excited that he wanted to shout. Xiao Shishir had already run to the distance where Qin Feng landed. She wiped her tears as she ran. Ling Feng stood arrogantly next to the carriage as if he had never moved. He was too lazy to check on Qin Feng's situation. He believed that the brat would die under this sword strike. Roar! Everyone looked towards the area where Qin Feng had landed, and they suspected that he had already died. However, at this moment, the large group of beasts behind the carriage suddenly went berserk and roared towards the sky in the direction where Qin Feng had landed. The beasts that were captured by Qin Feng ran to the side of the huge pit and knelt in a circle. It was as if they were worshipping their king. The outer martial world disciples were confused. They couldn't understand what was going on. The people from the Spirit Beast Commerce Group were shocked. Even Ling Feng, who was always calm, had a flash of light in his eyes. Senior brother Ling Feng, what's going on? Ling Yun raised her eyebrows. The other four companions immediately pulled the man in rough clothes to the back of the carriage. They reprimanded him. What are you waiting for? Get these beasts to calm down. The man in rough clothes had a cold look in his eyes. He had no choice but to activate his ability. A strange energy wave rippled in the surroundings. A moment later, the man in rough clothes opened his eyes in shock. Something's wrong. There's a beast king nearby. I can't control these beasts with my current realm. As the man in rough clothes finished speaking, the four people from the Spirit Beast Commerce Group were shocked. They quickly ran to Ling Feng and Ling Yun's side. Senior brother Ling Feng, what do we do now? Chapter 1292. The crowd noticed the abnormality and looked towards the area where Qin Feng landed. The beasts roared and worshipped him, and the surroundings were filled with a gloomy and terrifying aura. Baidu search. Kanshu 58 roar. There seemed to be fresh blood flowing through the armor, and it emitted a strange aura. The fierce beasts had dull eyes, and they surrounded Qin Feng like slaves. He's not dead yet, and he's not injured at all. The aura he emits is so strange. It doesn't feel like the aura of a human. Is a fierce beast? Sun Fei was dumbfounded. He had been Qin Feng's underling for a day and a night, but he still didn't know who his boss was. Senior brother Ling Feng, is this a beast king? The rest of the people from the Spirit Beast Business Group were also astonished. The man in coarse cloth clothes was dumbfounded. His mouth opened and closed, but he couldn't say a word. It was as if he found a sweet spring in the desert, and he couldn't wait to rush forward and hug Qin Feng to take a deep breath. Swish! When the crowd saw him, they all cried out in surprise. He was already swinging the purple spiritual sword at Qin Feng. Sword chi rose and fell from all directions. Swish! 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 It wasn't an ordinary wind blade attack. The air was suddenly filled with flames, and it was as if a great fire was going to burn the sky. Ling Feng's sword qi was enveloped by the flames, and it gradually dissipated. The destructive flames carried the sword qi, and it was as fast as a falling meteor. It forced Ling Feng to retreat. Rumble. The fierce battle started. The group of fierce beasts that he had captured suddenly went crazy, and they fiercely pounced towards the people from the Spirit Beast Business Group. Ling Feng was still fighting with Qin Feng, and Ling Yun, and the others were in a mess. Not only did the fierce beasts in front of them launch a fierce attack, but the group of fierce beasts behind the carriage also went crazy. A thunderous roar sounded, and a giant werewolf suddenly rushed out from the group of beasts behind the carriage. Oh no! The Rank 2 storm werewolf broke free. The people from the Spirit Beast Business Group cried out in alarm. The fire dragon that Ling Yun mentioned was a palm-sized lizard. However, from the nervous expressions of the people from the Spirit Beast Business Group, this little guy wasn't as inconspicuous as it looked. The giant elephant is charging over. The outer pugilistic world disciples were so frightened that they retreated again and again. The 8 horses galloped away with the carriage. Ling Yun'er and her 4 companions began to block the attacks of these magical beasts. Ling Feng was still fighting fiercely with Qin Feng in the distance. The storm werewolf, who had been the first to break free of the cage, had already arrived. It opened its mouth wide and shot out an ice spike. The ice pierced into the ground, causing the ground to freeze. The other 4 members of the Spirit Beast Financial Group immediately drew their swords and stabbed at the Storm Wolfman. For a moment, the cries of swords could be heard everywhere. The 4 of them seemed to have set up a small sword formation, trapping the Storm Wolfman in it and preventing him from escaping. Rumble. A small red shadow flew through the air and landed on the shoulder of a man in the blink of an eye. The man turned his head to look and was so scared that his eyeballs almost popped out. Another fire dragon flew out. The flames soared into the sky as if they could swallow everything in the world in an instant. A bunch of evil beasts. Watch out for my sword. Ling Yun'er stabbed out with her sword, causing the air to tremble. A fragrant wind assaulted them, giving them a comfortable feeling as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. However, behind this warmth was an enormous killing intent. In an instant, a net of swords enshrouded them with a momentum that could split the earth. The surging sword qi smashed into the bodies of the magical beasts. A few of the ferocious magical beasts withstood it, but many of the low-level beasts collapsed in a pool of blood. Ling Yun'er and her companions didn't have the time to think so much. Those magical beasts were extremely ferocious. They were all experts at the second realm of true qi. In addition to their astonishing defense, the members of the Spirit Beast Financial Group almost couldn't protect themselves. The battle had just begun. Whoosh! The storm werewolf was thoroughly enraged. With bloodshot eyes, it leaped 4 to 5 meters into the air and opened its bloody mouth, bending over and shooting out a dense barrage of icicles. Snowflakes fell, mixed with icicles that shot out. The impact of the icicles was so strong that when they landed on the ground, there was a loud explosion. The storm werewolf's ferocious attack continued. The barbs on the fire dragon's body stood up. It jumped onto the storm werewolf's shoulder, and a dozen fire dragons fell to the ground in succession. The remaining magical beasts also went berserk. The white-furred demonic ape beat its chest and roared in anger. A tank-like and majestic wild bull rampaged. Cries of alarm rose and fell from the crowd. When had these outer martial arts disciples ever seen such ferocious beasts? So there really are magical beasts in China. These magical beasts are so ferocious. Their strength is comparable to a true Qi realm expert. If we could subdue any one of them, won't we be able to do whatever we want in the outer martial arts world? The battle was incomparably fierce, scaring the outer martial arts disciples into retreating again and again. Buzz! The wild beast consciousness seemed to be suddenly controlled. They began to madly ram against the sturdy iron cage. After a series of ramming, Many of the beasts broke free and charged toward the Spirit Beast Financial Group. An ice-cold voice broke the man's thoughts. He swatted his palm to the side, but his palm suddenly stopped in front of Xiao. Sure. It's you? Hurry up and run. The people from the Spirit Beast sect are very powerful. Your boyfriend is most likely dead. The man looked at Xiao, sure, strangely. He couldn't understand why she was so angry. That's right. These are the disciples of the Spirit Beast sect. They came out of closed-door training a few days ago. You should hurry up and leave. I will control these beasts to help your boyfriend attack the disciples of the Spirit Beast sect. As for the success or failure, it will be up to fate. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.